What up, y'all? I'm Rajay,
And I'm Shy, and welcome to the RXS
the
podcast.
podcast where we provide inspiration, motivation, and information to the music community. Gang, gang, gang.
Yes. So, babe, what are we talking about today?
First, I want to acknowledge who we're talking about. Today, we have a very, very, very special guest, someone who I owe uh, quite a bit of gratitude to, somebody that I pay homage to on a regular basis, a living legend, one of the
Yes.
people who are responsible for me being a session player, me being a music producer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. I ain't gonna lie. If you know me, you know what's goody. The conversation was just about like the come up
Yeah.
and what comes with the come up.
Yeah.
The process of learning, the process of developing as a music producer. Excuse me, as an engineer, as a musician. Yeah, the music business a little bit, the quartet industry a little bit. So
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah, this is one who knows all of that and more. So I hope y'all enjoy the episode. What up, y'all? We have a very, 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 very special guest in the building today. I don't even know what to say. We just gonna say it's Ray Braswell Jr. in here because I could go crazy, but I would just keep it chill. What up, man?
What's up, Maul?
How you doing?
I'm good, man.
Yo, I wanted to y'all. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, I'm done. I wanted to have him in here a long time ago, but I'm glad we're here today. It's perfect timing, I think.
Oh yeah, God's time is always perfect.
Yeah. So listen, I want to do what we always do. Excuse me, guys. Take me from the top. Little Ray.
What part you want to know? Cause it's a whole lot
From
to it.
I'm talking about the very beginning. Like where you were born, everything.
Well, okay. Well, you know what? I was actually born in South Rocky Mount,
Okay.
and and for some reason my mom then moved over to Oakwood, which is Meadowbrook,
Yeah.
considered Meadowbrook, and that's where I've kind of spent all my childhood here,
Yeah.
um, on the playgrounds right up the street,
Yeah.
and going up to the school, you know, riding the bike.
Yeah.
You know,
So you rode your bike to school.
I rode my bike to school if I didn't walk, and
You
I
would walk to school? Like how many minutes it take to walk to school?
for me, for me, it took a good little while because I was always doing something stupid. You know, just trying. You know,
So you didn't never just walk straight to school.
no, I'm gonna go to somebody's house early in the morning. You know, knock on the door, ask them where they at, had they left yet? You know, so you know that's just kind of stuff we did back then,
Yeah.
man. You
Yeah.
know, because everybody had a certain time that we just knew. Okay, so and so is gonna be walking out of the house at this time because you had to get there by the time the bell rings.
Yeah.
So, you know, so we would go to each other's house and see if they in, and you would know if they didn't leave, they probably was sick. But you know, so
Yeah.
I just always lollygag and the school right up the street.
Right.
You know,
So were you at that time, that's what's that, elementary school?
elementary school.
Were you already into music then?
I was because I was I've always had a passion to play,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom and them had a group back then called the Wooten Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you had her cousins, which is Victor Wooten. Them they had the Wooten brothers.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't know they're from here. They're from North Carolina, like right
Yeah.
from the country,
Yeah.
Macclesfield area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they don't even have a stoplight; they just have a caution light. So so that was the Wooten brothers. But then my mom and her sisters and brothers, they was the Wooten sisters.
I got you.
So it was like my mom and them used to sing every weekend, uh, and um, and I always would go with them
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. Like anytime they sang, anytime they rehearsed, I was with my mom. Like she
Wow.
knew not to leave me at home.
Yeah.
If she left me at home, I must have been on punishment for something.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like she didn't never have to ask me to come because that was like going to the candy store.
Right.
So every time they had rehearsal, I would always go. This before I was playing anything.
Mm.
And so And I used to love when they would decide to have rehearsal at our house. So my sister, she had a back then she had a kitchen set.
Uh-huh.
And back then, now they make kitchen sets with plastic.
Yeah.
Back then they made it with metal.
Yeah.
So I would take that and those plates would be my symbols. I had a fire truck. Fire truck was my drums. So, and then, so what I would do, I would pull my little mess out while they rehearsing. I'll be banging on my little mess while they rehearsing. And most of the time, my mom didn't want to make nobody look bad, but my mom, I guess I was playing my little drum set better than the drummer that they had. So it was like, it just always was it always became a passion
Yeah.
or was a passion because I always wanted to play the drums.
Yeah. So when did you get your first drum set?
Oh, my real first drum set.
Well, okay, no, wait. So after the fire truck and the plates,
Okay.
did you start playing drums before you got a drum set?
I did.
Okay.
If I can recall, because I when I turned 6,
Mm-hmm.
my dad wrote a play, and at that time we was going to Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Yeah.
Well, that's my home church. That's where I grew up
Yeah.
at
Wow.
with Pastor Walker.
Wow.
So my dad wrote a play,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the name of the play was The Best That He Had. My dad wrote, and it was a spot in there that my dad said, "You gonna play drums." Now I've never sat on a set of drums at all.
Just
So
the truck and the
just a truck, yeah, and publicly.
yeah.
So that particular day, matter of fact, the name of the song was "I Rise Again."
Yeah, I know that
So
song.
so it was like the crucifixion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that day, my dad said, "You gonna play the drums?" So and it was like packed. Everybody was in there listening to the play. But when they got to that section of the play, it was time for me to play drums. And when I started playing, I mean, I think people took their attention off the play and was looking at me playing the drums.
Yeah. So were the drums in the same place they are now at Ebenezer?
Well, actually, we did this in the old sanctuary,
Oh, which is the fellowship hall now.
Yeah. So that's where I played my first song.
Wow.
And this was 1986.
Woo! So from then on, you considered yourself a drummer.
Oh yeah, I was major then. You couldn't touch me then, cause I knew that because of my passion, and when I played that day, my confidence was
Yeah.
there because I knew that I knew I could play and I could hold my own, and that's not being arrogant at all.
Yeah.
But it's just I knew that if I was called to play,
Yeah.
I would give it my all and put my all into it.
Yeah.
So it was a life changing for me
Yeah.
when I played that day, and from there it's just like I would they asked me to play in church.
That's what I was gonna ask you. So you started playing on Sunday.
I started playing on Sunday.
Did you play every Sunday or just particular certain Sundays?
I played every Sunday, but I didn't play the whole service.
Oh.
Because at that time, and at that time, the drummer that was there, he's my guy. I respect him. We still talk every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But he taught me so much at that time. His name was Daryl Trevathan.
Okay.
He's still here in Rocky Mount. He's a little older.
Okay.
And he was a drummer at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So he had he was playing, and I would always watch him play.
Yeah.
So it's like even today, it's like things that he's done, how he played, I still implemented them in playing now. So he was very instrumental in my life because he taught me, a lot of things about drums that I didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
During that time.
Yeah.
And so it was like kind of that that time, he kind of took me in. He kind of showed me the ropes.
Yeah. So how long were you playing drums before you started playing keys?
Well, before I started playing keys, I started playing bass.
Oh, let's go. So that was the third. Okay. Okay. So how did you start playing bass?
Well, I started playing bass because my cousin that played at the church, his name is Ray Johnson. He played at the church.
Uh-huh.
He was working a lot.
Oh.
So it was like um I would always have to play drums with, at that time it was Tim Walker.
Yeah.
And that's Pastor Walker's son.
Son,
So
yeah.
he was the organ player. So when he wasn't when it was just me and him, it was always kind of weird because it's like, where the bass at? I want to feel some bass,
Yeah.
because when you playing as a team, it's like when the bass is gone, it's like
The bottom
the
fall
bottom
out.
the bottom fall out. I'm trying to tell you. So, but long story short, because he couldn't, because he was working a lot, I've always was like, I need to learn how to play the bass.
Yeah.
And even in some, in some situations, like, as kids, we'll hear a song and sometimes we'll be humming the bass,
Yeah.
and that's just how it was all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I had the drums down pat, it was like when I would hear a song, I'll be humming the bass while the song is playing.
Yeah.
So it's like I knew then that I kind of had a thing for bass.
For bass, yeah.
So but that really, with him not being there and I always wanted to have a bass player, I said, well, let me try to find out how to play it.
Yeah.
So me and my cousins, we would always, back in the day, I don't know if they do it now, like young kids.
Mhm.
Back then we used to play church all the time.
Like pretend y'all were having church
Oh
service.
yeah, we used to do it. Me, my sister, and my cousins, we would all be upstairs, and um and when I would go to their house, my uncle, he had a box guitar. That's what we call it back then, but now we call it acoustic.
Acoustic, yeah.
And it was a guitar, so it had 6 strings, but that particular guitar always had 4 strings. so so it's like, um and because I didn't know how to make no chords, I would play one string at a time. So that was like my practice.
Yeah, that's how you learn how
That's
to
how
play
I
bass.
learned how to play bass.
On the
From
acoustic.
acoustic guitar. But back then we used to call it a box guitar.
Yeah.
So that's when I started playing bass.
And when did you play like the first time officially?
Oh man, it was an event at Ebenezer.
Mm.
And guitar player, um the late Chester Lewis.
Yes.
He had his groups called Chester Lewis and Company.
Mm-hmm.
And I think during that time, I don't know if my cousin Ray was still in the group or I can't remember, but that particular day, Pastor Walker used to have gospel concerts on Monday nights.
Mm-hmm.
So that particular night, it was a concert where I think he had the Williams brothers here, or the Jackson Southerners, one of them, and Chester Lewis opened up,
Mm-hmm.
and he needed a bass player.
Whoa. And so did you know, like, I can do this?
Oh yeah. I was like, okay, let's go.
Yo, that's crazy. How long had you been practicing before that day?
Well, back then, every day I used to, when stuff is around, you would
Yeah.
always pick it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say that now because, being older, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
that's one of the things we need to get back to practicing. But then when we would see it, we would just always go and pick it up and
Yeah.
practice. So I would always kind of, be up on, playing songs and stuff
Yeah.
like that and playing his songs. So that night, and I didn't even have a bass then. So I had to borrow a bass.
Do you remember whose bass you borrowed?
I think I borrowed Timmy Britt.
Yo, that's crazy.
Because back in the day, Timmy Britt used to play the bass. He had a local group with the Traveling Angels.
Yeah.
And I think he was the bass player
Yeah.
before he started singing, just leading. So I would borrow his stuff,
Yeah.
you know. And because I didn't play much, I didn't, have my
Mhm.
own. So I would go and, borrow his bass.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And what did Mr. Chester say when you played? Cause did he know you could play?
He did. He did. He knew that I could play, but he knew I haven't played in a public setting.
Yes, the same as the drums.
Right.
That's what's crazy.
So here it is, the same church, but I'm playing a different instrument at a big event
Right.
for the first time.
Right.
So that day it was like, it was incredible because that was another life-changing moment for me.
Yeah.
Because, being able to play something that I've never played openly and publicly, for a local group, and it was like, everything was spot on. So it was like we was flawless.
Yeah.
And then during that time he had this thing where he would play Walk Around Heaven on the guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and he would get to the end of the, when Paul would hold the note,
Yeah.
he would hold the note on the guitar. He would hit it one time and it would just sustain
Yeah.
like for a long time.
Yeah.
And but that was an incredible time.
Mm-hmm.
So here again, like I say, another instrument at the same church, but in the sanctuary, but at a big event. Big event. So, it was incredible.
And then what was your journey? So keys came next.
Right. Because by that time, after I started playing bass, Tim had got called into the ministry. So he was preaching a lot. And he was the minister of music of the church.
Yeah.
So it was like I was always there at church. I didn't have a bass player or a keyboard player.
Yeah.
So this particular service, it was a revival service. I never forget, it was a revival service, and I can't remember who was preaching. But this particular day, Tim could only start the service off. Then he had to leave.
Yeah.
So Tim left. It left me there by myself.
Yeah.
It was no one else there that could play organ or whatever. So this particular time, well, at first I started with playing key bass.
Yeah.
So when he left, not left leaving the church, but when he left
that service,
I had to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
I'm on keyboard and playing with one hand. So I guess the people say, well, he up there, I know he gonna put that other hand up there. So it's like, okay, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
So for some reason, I just formed a chord and I just made it work to the end of the service till they said, may the Lord watch.
Yeah.
So I just made it work. It was challenging because I was kind of nervous because I know that kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And
so you never had intentions to play keyboard?
No.
Yo, this is crazy. But it's like Tim ain't here. He preaching all the time. Somebody got to learn how to play.
That's right.
Yo, I never knew that. Yeah. So you learn how to play drums, you learn how to play bass, then you learn how to play keys. When do you discover like the production side of things?
Well, when I started playing keyboard, and I never forget, there's a guy here in Rocky Mount. His name is Jerry Harrison.
Yeah.
He was doing a record.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a studio called Gospel World.
Uh-huh.
It was in the country. It was like in Middlesex. It was nowhere. Nothing around it. And the owner, he had a studio in the back of his house.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a top of the line studio.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Ray, he said, I want you to come to the studio. He said, and I'm gonna pay you $100. And he said, I don't want no mess.
Uh-huh.
He said, now I need you to come in here and I need you to fatten up my music. So I went, did the session. He said, "Now I'm paying by the hour, cause back then,
Ain't no none of that.
oh
Yes.
yeah, yeah." So he said, "We on the clock now," so that's why he said he ain't want no mess.
Yeah.
So so I went. We did the session, and I did my thing.
Yeah.
I did what he asked me to do,
Yeah.
and in his words, I was flawless. So he was cool.
Yeah.
So when from that moment, I've seen how artists would um would be in sessions and be at the studio, and sometimes they would run out of money because they were paying by the hour. So
Mm.
it was like it was like they had to just deal with how things were because they was running out of money. And
Mm.
sometimes the engineer didn't,
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't, some of them couldn't hear thunder, but at the same token, they didn't really care what you did, long
Cause
as
they
you
literally just engineering.
just
They
engineer.
just making sure the tracks is coming up.
And
That's
it
it.
sounded great. Yep, that's
Yeah.
it. So it was like, I said, well, what I want to be able to help the artists be able to get their music the way they want it without worrying about how much time they got.
Mm.
you know so during that time, I just I would go and sit up under Mr. Borkins. His name was Gerald Borkins.
Mm-hmm.
And
At that same studio?
at the same studio.
Okay.
So and at that time, our cousin Wyatt Staten,
Yeah.
he was a studio musician, so he played a lot on the sessions.
Yeah.
And he would play guitar and bass, and if he didn't program the music sometimes, but most of the time he would always hire studio musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Then I became a studio musician.
Woo. Okay.
He would hire me in to come and play drums.
Uh-huh.
So when he did that, I just kind of learned.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of learned how they did things, and back then, this was before software was even out.
Yes.
So this was like, you got 2 inch,
Yeah.
you got reel to reels and DAT machines and stuff
Yeah.
like that, sync boxes and stuff, and it was interesting. So that's how I kind of got influenced with trying to learn studio stuff. And but I didn't really get into the production side of it until at my home church. The minister of music, he was God bless his soul, Ed Melvin.
Mm-hmm.
He was the minister of music, and he had a studio. So
Oh.
he was doing a lot of production.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not just recording, but he was doing a lot of production. He
Yeah.
wasn't the best at recording,
Yeah.
but he was the best at production.
Yeah.
So I took what he did, you know, and just kind of applied it. I took the do's and the don'ts,
Yeah.
and just kind of applied it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really influenced with how to record,
Mm-hmm.
and not even just recording, but how production's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because back then it was still limited with recording. I think he was recording with a Akaye 12-track machine.
Yeah, so that's all you got. Unless you
Yeah.
bounce it, right?
Unless you bounce it,
Yeah.
So it was like, with working with, and he couldn't mix that. He couldn't mix that good, but he can.
But how
record.
did you know? How did you know that he couldn't record good and he wasn't mixing good? Is it because you were at that other studio?
Well, it's kind of like one of those things that, the gift that God put
Yes.
inside of you that you just can't explain.
Yes.
And it's like somebody teaching you how to play by ear.
Yeah.
That's something that we can't teach.
Right.
And that's just kind of how
How
it
it
was.
was.
Yeah, it's like, you can be a songwriter and you can be a musician that play, but you may not know how to put music together to make a commercial, whatever. So it was just one of those things that he knew how to record it, okay,
Yeah.
but it's like, when it comes down to putting the icing on the cake, it's like, that's the area that he lacked. So it always had to be somebody else
Yeah.
to come and do it.
So did you start doing it for him?
No, I never started doing it for him because it was kind of one of those ones that, um I don't know if it was more afraid, but it's kind of, and it was never like a issue where this is my stuff, you don't deal with my stuff. It was nothing like that. But it was just kind of, I don't think that it was a level of trust that I could do it. So I
Mm.
just, I didn't worry about it because that wasn't my issue. I just want
Yeah.
to be in the room,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And that's just been my whole thing. If I could just be in the room, that's when I can get what I need.
Yeah.
And this is and I apply that to life itself. It's like if I could just be in the room
Yeah,
to
man.
just see how it's done, how they think, how they approach it, and so forth. So
Yeah.
that was my thing all the time. It's like if I could just get in the room
Yeah.
and just see how it's done.
So you meet him, he has a studio. That's how you start to think about production.
Mhm.
When do you, number one, decide to be a producer? And number two, when do you open up your studio?
Well, with Ed Melvin, he passed away.
Okay.
So I had really had no one um to go to kind of sit up under.
Oh, I got
Then Timmy Britt,
you.
he had a 4-track.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he had a 4-track and a Yamaha SY85.
What's that? What is a SY85?
Okay, so back then before they had motifs and stuff,
Yeah.
they had SY77s,
Okay.
SY99s,
Okay.
and they had a 85.
Uh-huh. How many keys was on it?
It was a 61 key.
Okay. Okay.
And it was a 16-track sequencer.
Sequencer. Yeah.
So
I got you.
So you think about it. I just always kind of thought, let me do my music in here. Cause I got 16
You got
tracks.
16 tracks on there, yes.
And let me just take one input and you give me a track on that 4-track.
You went in mono?
Went in mono. Yeah. So like it's like, hey, you hit play and I'ma start this keyboard. So it's like, that's how we used to do it.
Yes, that's crazy.
And and back then, because it's 4 tracks, it's like, okay, you got background, you got 3 part. So we gonna get this one microphone, y'all gonna stand around and we gonna sing.
Yeah.
And if we try to make it sound good, well back then, because you had to do guitar.
Yeah.
So you had to take one of them other 3 tracks and put guitar on it because you couldn't record guitar
So
on the
you
computer.
got all your music on one, guitar on another, all the background on one, and then the lead. That's your
vocal.
4
That's it.
That's your 4
Let's go to work.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, let's go to work.
Yo.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how it was.
Uh-huh.
So we was doing stuff at his house, and then I would get mad because Tim used to use up all the tracks. So it won't no adding to it.
Yeah.
So but then Tim was working as well.
Uh-huh.
So his schedule got so busy that I couldn't record like that. Cause I would just go to his house and we would record all day long.
Yeah.
So and being respectful of his family, because I don't even think Dominique was
born yet. Yes.
So it was Jason was a baby.
Yes.
Jason was a baby, and TJ.
Yes. Yes.
He was playing.
Yes.
Where he was playing drums.
So let me let him know. For those of y'all who don't know, Timmy Britt is Damo Britt's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people don't know, everybody that's been up here, every time we talk, there's a connection. Mm-hmm. There's some kind of connection with everybody. So I just want to do that. All right.
So yeah. So it was like it was hard trying to go to his house because he was working, and I wouldn't go, when he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of those things that he got so busy and he didn't have a lot of flexible time.
Yeah.
So, I didn't have nowhere to record. So, so this particular day, my dad bought me a Tascam 424. and it was a 4-track
Yeah.
with a cassette. It was a cassette tape.
Yeah.
So what I had to, I used to. I mean, then I was ordering cassettes, and I was going to. Back then, we had Radio Shack.
Yes.
So, and I was always told that you have to use the expensive tape because they record better.
Mm-hmm.
Like the high bias tapes. I mean, back then one tape would probably be like $10.
Dang.
Yeah. So it was like I would buy like the special tapes
Mm-hmm.
because I want, I want the best quality I can get.
Yeah.
So I had that 4-track, man. I used to work the mess out of it.
Yeah.
And then back by that time, my dad bought me a keyboard.
What kind of keyboard was it?
He bought me a Korg X3.
Yeah, I know what that is. I know what
Korg
X3 is.
X3. So and
Did that have a sequencer?
It was 16-track sequencer. So I would do same thing, record all my tracks in that
Yeah.
on the keyboard, dump it on that track 4.
Yeah.
If I had to do any kind of live bass or whatever
Yeah.
like that, then I would flip you out. So I would do I would dump my music from my keyboard on track 4.
Yeah.
Then I would play live bass on track 3. Then I would if there needed to be a guitar, that would be on track 2.
Yeah.
So then what I would do, I would bounce those 3 tracks to track 1.
Oh my goodness. So now all of the music is on one track.
All the
bass
music.
and guitar included.
That's right. So, and it's kind of like you have to really have a great mixing ear because once you bounce it to
That's
one,
it.
that's it. And then you re-record over those other tracks because you needed to do vocals.
Yo, this is insane. So, and you doing all this by yourself?
All this by
So
myself.
hold on. Did you have people come, like artists coming in and record?
Oh yeah.
Yo. Like, who was the first one?
The first one was they're from Rocky Mount, Lil Alice and Penny.
I knew that's what you was gonna say. So when you got the Tascam, Alice and Penny was the first people that came to record.
They was the very first artist that I recorded.
Yo, that's crazy. So were y'all living where your mom and dad live now?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, how old were you?
I was 14.
God. So at this time, you playing drums, bass, keys. You done seen all these people. You been in the room. You get the Tascam. Alice and Penny come.
That's right.
You 14.
Mm-hmm.
How long? Like, how many artists did you record on the Tascam? Can you remember?
I can't, but it was a lot.
Yeah,
They
came through.
Yeah, it was a lot because by that time people was like impressed with like the sound.
Yes. So you had good sound quality on the Tascam.
Yeah. And I didn't have like high mics, like high dollar mics like this. I had like a PV mic with the switch on it. So that was like my mic. I didn't have no preamp, and I had like I would borrow a reverb unit.
Yo, it was baked in there.
Yep. So yeah, so it's like that time I didn't know how to put it on an auxiliary or whatever. So I used to put it on the track. I used to record it on the track and just pray that I didn't have too much reverb on it. So
did you ever have too much reverb on it?
Yeah, I was wrong. Yeah, I won't.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you 14, you doing this. When do you go? Because it's a lot of places I want to go.
Okay.
Let me think about it. Because it's a lot, y'all. He done a lot. So 14, Tascam. What comes next?
What comes next? Is the next came the rolling 1824.
Okay. So how old were you when you got that?
I think I was about 17, 18.
All right. So between the Tascam and the 1824, as a musician, what's going on?
Nothing had really. You know what? Let me back up. I think before it was the 1824, it was the ADATs. It was the ADATs because the ADATs was a it was a. It may not make sense, but it's what it was. It was a digital analog machine.
No, I remember because that's what you had the Southern Wonder stuff on, ain't it?
Yep.
It was like VS, what is it?
VHS.
VHS tapes, yeah. But it was digital.
It was digital.
Yo, y'all look at my wife like, what? It was a digital machine, but it was recorded to a VCR tape.
Analog.
Yo, we don't know nothing but logic. That's what's crazy. Yo,
Yeah.
So you got that machine. How old were you when you got that machine?
Actually, when I was 17.
Okay.
And that was the official when Ray Markable Studio was started.
Okay, all right. That's where we need to go. All right. So how did it start and what made you say, okay, we're gonna start a studio?
Okay. So my first professional gig on the road was Charles Johnson and the Revivers.
Yeah.
It wasn't Keith Wonderboy. It
Right.
was Charles Johnson and the Revivers.
Yes.
And that was as soon as I graduated from high school.
So you graduate high school. Dude, this is insane. You graduate high school. How did you get the gig?
Maurice Morgan.
Shout out Uncle Maurice.
Yep, Maurice Morgan. Maurice had played for some of everybody.
Yeah.
From Volunteers to Keynotes, all of that. And Maurice is right from Wilson.
Right.
So I never forget it. We did a concert. Mark Green did a
shout out to Mark.
He did a concert at his mother's church, Willing Workers.
Yes. Another iconic place in Rocky Mount.
And every year back then, he would do a Christmas, like a Christmas thing with his family. And this particular time, he asked me to play. I was playing like Ox.
Yeah.
I was playing Ox on keyboard. And Maurice was there.
Yeah.
And so Maurice, he came up to me, he said, "Man, how old are you?" I said, "I'm 17. He said, "You still in school?" I said, "Yeah, this is my last year. I'm going to graduate."
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, okay." So that's all he said.
Yeah.
But when I graduated, it's like, "Hey man, our keyboard player just quit."
That's crazy.
He said, "Our keyboard player just quit. And do you want to play on the road?" And I'm saying like, "Huh? Why are you even asking me?"
Right.
Because I didn't have a desire to go to school.
Yes.
Because high school was like, anyway.
You made it though.
I made it. Where the shout music?
I'm gonna put it in there. Yo.
So I wasn't thinking about going to school.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, like, "Hey, don't waste no money sending me to school."
Yeah, that's very wise for you to tell her that.
Yeah,
she would have wasted that money.
Oh, absolutely. I already owe for a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So when I graduated and Maurice told me that their keyboard player quit, he said, "Can you come to Durham to audition for the job?" And now I had my own local group here.
Yes, which is what we got. What was the name of that group?
It was called Brother to Brother.
Yeah, we got to talk about them. So yeah, go ahead, and then we'll just go back.
So I was with Brother to Brother.
Yeah,
and we had just put out a little single. It wasn't a single because 2 songs ain't no single. But we had put out our little whatever you want to call it. And so with me having an opportunity, I'm saying like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
Because opportunities like this don't come around every day. So we went to audition. It was on a Tuesday. Now, when I got there, of course I was singing with Brother to Brother too. I was singing and playing.
Yeah.
But when I got there, he asked me to, sing. One of the first songs that we did was "I Can't Even Walk Without You Holding My Hand." So I sung that. He said, "Well, what part can you sing?" I said, "I can sing all of them." And none of this I wasn't being arrogant at all.
Yeah, it's just true.
You know. So when he said, okay, so we sung it. And the whole time, like Charles is just like looking at my shoes. He looking at like how I play and stuff like that. And after a while, he said, we don't need to do anything else. So Maurice was like, hey, let's go. You know, he was like, okay, so we're going to leave. We're going to be leaving Thursday. Now, this Tuesday, he said, we're going to be leaving Thursday. And I said, well, what are the songs? He said, well, I'm going to go to the bus and I'm going to get you all the music that Charles ever recorded. And you got to listen to it.
Yo!
So I'm saying to myself, Lord, I ain't gonna be able to get no sleep from trying to learn all this material.
Yeah.
So I get back home. Hey, Mom, I got to leave. Oh, okay. Where you going? Cause see, I've never been out like that.
Yes.
You know. Well, I got the job, and so I got the schedule too. So in that time, you know, Charles was doing shows, free will offerings.
Yeah.
But it was in different states every night.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was throughout the week.
Yeah.
So when I left Thursday, I was gone 22 days. Never been from home. I was spoiled. My mom washed my clothes.
Yeah.
And all that. So it was like, I didn't know how to do none of that. So, and during that time, it was Maurice Morgan playing guitar.
Yeah.
It was Tracy Pierce.
Shout out Tracy, yeah.
He was on bass. Daryl Richmond.
Daryl
Richmond played bass. He was one of the Angelics.
Yes.
Because during that time, Babe wasn't singing that much.
Yeah.
So he was playing the drums. I was playing the keyboard.
Yeah.
And we was all singing. Everybody sung but Daryl. And that's because he drove the bus and played.
That's crazy. Yeah. So how did Brother to Brother feel when you took that opportunity?
Oh, they ain't like me.
Interesting. What did they say?
They thought I left them hanging. Because you know, because of what we had built. And so it was kind of one of those moments that it was like, you know, let me just try it.
Yeah. And so you started Brother to Brother?
I started Brother to Brother.
Okay. Tell me that story, how that happened.
Well, I started Brother to Brother. I would always going to Greenville. Because my oldest son, he lives, well, you the oldest.
Yeah.
But Marquise, he was you know, he's from there.
Yes.
So I was always in Greenville. And my cousin Mondre, the late great Mondre Bynum, he was there too.
Yeah.
So it was during that time they had another local group called the Gospel Crusaders, him and Terrence. And
okay, they were in another group.
They was in another group. So because I was always up in Greenville, it was like, hey, why not just start a group?
Yo, that's crazy. I didn't know you started the group.
Yep. So it was like, so we would come. We were always, me and Mondre, we always used to, you know, cut up and go here and there. I would stay with him, take his mom's car. We would be riding, just burning out gas.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of just formed a new team and just named it Brother to Brother.
Yo, and how long were y'all singing before the opportunity with Charles came?
Oh, we was singing a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we was singing at all the choir anniversaries. Yeah. We was singing on every local program in Greenville.
Yeah.
You know, because then they had local programs every week.
Every weekend, yeah.
You know, so it was like we was always on the program.
And did you know you wanted to be like a professional musician on the road?
Oh yeah, I knew that before Brother to Brother existed. That was like my dream. Like,
yeah,
you know, when you watching when you watching Luther Barnes,
Yes, sir.
with the choir and the sunsets, and then you watching like the late great Donald Barnes
Yes.
playing and all of those guys, it's like I wanted to do that too.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just be a church musician.
Yes.
I
Yes.
thank God for it because I've learned so much
Yes.
about church,
Yes.
but I wanted to do more than that.
Yeah.
So it's like always had the dream of being on stage
Yes, sir.
before a lot of people just playing,
Yeah.
playing music.
Yeah.
So that's that was just like a dream come true.
So when you got ready to do the audition, did you hold like a group meeting to tell them
No,
how you do it?
I just said, hey, I'm not gonna be, I'm going with Charles Johnson and the Revivers.
They was pissed with you, man.
Oh, they was heated. They was heated.
Yo.
And back then, as a leader, it's like when you're when you're leading anything, it's hard for people to see the vision.
Yes, sir.
And I would always say, let's do this and do that.
Yeah.
And it's like I would get why we can't do it before I would get believing in me as a leader.
And that's before Charles comes along.
Right.
So it makes deciding to go with Charles easier.
Right.
Because had you been on a team because obviously you're thinking bigger than where y'all are.
Right.
And you're trying to convince them or encourage them, y'all, let's try this, let's do that. Let's build it as big as we can and let's really do it. And they kind of like, nah, because this, and that.
Right.
So then Charles come and you like, well.
Yep. Here we go.
Yo, I don't blame you though.
Right.
Because there sometimes, not all people, but in our experience, there's a lot of extremely gifted people with small minds. That's just a spade being a spade.
That's right.
And when you have bigger dreams and goals and aspirations, sometimes you have to like make a decision to like do what's next.
That's right.
And it's going to always be offensive to people who can't see.
Right.
It's going they always gonna be like, man, well, what you gotta do that for? Well, what's wrong with what we doing? A lot is wrong with what we doing. And you don't listen to me when I tell you it is.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm out of here.
That's it.
So then you get the gig. Are you producing artists while you're on the road before you start the studio?
Yep, I was.
Yo, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you still producing them out of your mom's house?
That's right.
So you on the road with Charles, you come home, you record artists, and you go back on the road, and it's that back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that, what makes you decide, okay, it's time to open the studio?
During that time, Maurice, I would take my 4-track out on the road, and Maurice he always would hear me talking about, I don't have but 4 tracks. So what Maurice did was, Maurice went and bought an 8-track of the same kind of 4-track that I had.
Yes, just with 4 more tracks.
Right. So I was still doing instruments and the keyboard.
But now you got 7 more tracks.
Now I got 7 more tracks.
Yes, Lord.
So I didn't have to bounce as much because I had more tracks.
Yeah.
So then what I would do is we was recording stuff because our tours was always long and we would be out weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So during the week, if we had any days off, we need to have something to do.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, Charles always would pick the places where nothing was around.
Yeah.
And like in Kentucky and Tennessee, you in the mountains and all you seeing is like hills and more hills and more hills and more hills with nothing to do and you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
So we would take the 8-track out on the road.
Yeah.
In our downtime, we would be in the hotels just cutting tracks.
Yeah.
So then 8 tracks got it got bad for us because that limited us. So during this time, Maurice was like, what do we need to get? I said, we need to get that. And that what that was two ADATs. It was two ADATs.
But where did you see the ADATs at?
You know, back then we always used to get, and I still do it now. You know, back then it was like musicians' friends magazines. So I would always get the book, and I would always just be looking and saying, "Oh, I wish I could get that."
Yes, sir.
You know, and so that's I would see it in the book.
Yeah.
So I told Maurice, I said, we need to get that, and we need to get this, and okay, what else we need? So I would tell him everything we need. We had a console, and that time they had an Alesis bundle kind of thing, just like they probably do now.
like they do now with the
software.
Yeah.
They had a bundle. So Alesis had a console. It was a 16 channel console, and then they had the ADATs to go with it.
And how many tracks was on the ADAT?
Each ADAT had 8 tracks.
So you got 16 ADAT tracks, and then you run it through the console into the ADAT?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then you had back then you had outboard gear, so it wasn't a such thing as plugins.
Ain't no plugins.
So, you know, you had to get, you know, your compressor units, your reverb units. And you know, if you had to get mic pre's, you know, we didn't have a lot of money back then. So
you just used the board.
We just used the board pre's. You know, and on top of the board you have tape in, and you have to flip that channel. When you want to hear it, you got to flip it. And
so it'll play back through the board.
So it'll play back through.
Interesting. So see, now I'm learning. So y'all tracking into the board into the ADAT.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to flip the buttons for the ADATs to play back through the board.
Yeah.
And so is that how you mixed too?
Yeah.
And then mixed it down and then put it back as a 2-track?
Absolutely.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah. So back then, before because when I started recording, the technology had gotten a little better.
Yeah.
So back then we mixed to a DAT tape.
Okay.
So and that's called a digital audio tape.
Okay.
So, and technically speaking, it may be a digital audio tape, but it's still analog.
It's still analog.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it wasn't no, you know, dragging it and fading it. No. You had to take that master fader, and when you want to fade out, you better make sure you slow and smooth to fade it out. And if somebody coughed or something, you got to find that spot, wait till it get there, and mute it and unmute it for the next part to come in.
And you had to do that. Like somebody coughed, I gotta.
Oh yeah, you got
run
to
the tape back, look, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna catch you this time.
Right at this number at 1 minute and 29 seconds. That's when I have to mute it.
Yo, you was working hard, bro.
Yeah, because I didn't have like all of the gates and stuff like that.
Because in most studios they have what we use, the gates and the compressors that we use now in plugins. Mm-hmm. They will have racks. Mm-hmm. And y'all just had the ADATs, the DAT machine, and the console,
and one reverb unit.
Yo.
Yeah.
So y'all get the gear. Do you get the gear before you open the studio?
Yep.
So then y'all like, okay, where we gonna put the gear?
Yep. And you know we had to put it in the garage. You know? So it was like, you know, so that's just kind of like the upgrade of the studio.
Yes. So listen, do you have to go to your mom and dad like, can we turn the garage into a studio?
I know.
You just y'all just put it
we just went to work.
Did y'all have to clean it out? Or won't nothing in there?
We cleaned what we needed to clean.
The space.
To have the space to do what we needed to do.
Cleared the space.
My dad had all kinds of stuff in there up on the counters and stuff. And I think one day he just said, well, I'm gonna build a cabinet. He built the cabinet and put more junk in there, and it cut down on the studio space.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh God, how we gonna do this here?
Yo.
So it's like, and this was maybe like a 16 by 18 studio. One room.
One room.
So And here we are. We got drums in the corner, you know,
I remember, man.
and I'm telling you, man, I like, and it didn't have like no central heat and air, so it's like I had to my dad put a gas heater out there,
Yeah.
and you know, and it had like the pilot on there, so and back then when I knew we had sessions, I would go to the gas station and get the propane tanks
Yes.
so I can make sure we had heat during the winter,
That's crazy.
you know. And then during the summer, we had like air conditioner unit,
Yeah.
and I used to get up in the morning, turn it on so it won't be so hot, because you know it's one room, so when it's time to record vocals,
You gotta
you got to turn it off. So I would try to get it nice and cold in there. It's feel good in here, and then you know. But soon as you get finished recording them vocals, you better turn that thing back on, because you're gonna burn up.
Yo, this is crazy. So you get the ADATs, you put them in there. Who's the first client in the studio?
Roy and the Sunset Spirituals.
Let's go. Yo, this is bananas.
From Wilson.
From Wilson.
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about. How in the world did you end up like, so how are you getting clients? Is it word of mouth?
It was word of mouth, but then Maurice was like the go-getter.
Oh, so y'all had like a partnership.
Yeah, it was partnership. So let me go back a little bit.
Okay.
So when I had my 4-track,
Yeah.
my dad was doing video. The name of his business was Special Effects of Video.
Yeah.
When I had the studio with my 4-track, I named it Special Effects Studio.
Yeah.
Now, when Maurice came along, we named the studio Raymarkable. That was RAYMAURKABLE.
Yes, it was Ray and Maurice.
Right. So that was like, so it's Ray and Maurice Cable Mint Connection.
Yes. That's crazy.
Yep. So Cable Mint Connection. So there we are, Raymarkable.
Yes.
So you know, and then so Maurice was the go-getter.
He the one that would get the clients.
Right. And most of the clients back then when we first started was coming from the Wilson area.
Yes, because that's where he was from.
Right. So it was Roy and the Sunset Spirituals came, and then we did Melinda Wallace.
Yes, Lord.
And I can't remember the name of her group back then. Was it Jerusalem Singers or something? Yeah.
Yes.
So it was Melinda Wallace, and then and I don't know who was after that.
So then after that, it just kept going.
It just kept going.
And by the time y'all do like Melinda and stuff, how old were you?
I was about 18 and 19.
Okay. 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you still traveling with Charles. How long did you travel with Charles?
I was with Charles for probably like a little over 2 years.
2 years. So that means you probably like 20 when you stopped.
Mm-hmm.
How do you meet Keith?
I met Keith when I was with Brother to Brother.
Interesting. So you got to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back. Okay.
So when I was with Brother to Brother, we would, like I said, we would always be on the local shows. But then when they had big shows, we would always do the big shows as Brother to Brother.
Yeah.
This particular time, there was a label from Greenville that was signing a bunch of groups, and I'll never forget it. It was before Dietrich Haddon really got hot. Dietrich Haddon, he did a show. It was outside of the Commons in Greenville. And Brother to Brother was on the show. Keith was on the show.
Yeah.
So back at that time, it was Keith, Hezzy, and Spanky.
Was Mario in the group?
Mario's in the group. And that time, Spanky and Keith would always switch up lead singing. Keith would go and jump on the drums, or either Spanky would jump on the drums.
Wait a minute. Yo, what?
Yeah,
Yo, and they were the spiritual voices then.
they were the spiritual voices.
Spanky would get the lead mic,
Mm-hmm.
and Keith would get on the drums.
He would get on the drums.
So who was playing drums when Keith was leading?
Spanky?
Spanky played drums?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Spanky plays everything.
Yo, we're talking about Keith Wonderboy Johnson and Spanky Williams. Just for people. I know y'all know, but just to clarify. What?
Yeah. Yeah. So because I was with Brother to Brother, now me and Spanky had already done connected the trade-off stuff we was working on.
Oh.
So
because he was recording people too.
He was recording people too.
Okay.
Now the only thing that I had was Brother to Brother's record. We had a full-blown record that I had recorded on 4-track that we never put out. Like we've recorded records and never could put it out. Cause we they didn't ever want to save no money to put it out. So that was just stuff sitting.
Yeah.
And so when Keith would come to town, Keith would always ask me to play keyboard for the group.
Okay.
Because they only travel with bass, keyboard, and drums.
Yeah.
So it was like they on the big shows, Keith wanted the keyboard player.
Yeah.
So he would always ask me to sit in. I would sit in.
Yeah.
So after, my season was up with Charles.
Yeah.
We always connected with, me and Keith and the guys, we always stay connected. So Keith was like, hey, whenever we have some big shows, we want you to play.
Yeah.
We want you to come out and play keyboard. I said, cool.
Yeah.
So and the first big event that they had was live in North Carolina. That was Creedmoor.
Wait. So the first big thing you did with them was a recording?
Mm-hmm.
When they had on them Carolina
Blue Suits? Yes. Yep, the Carolina Blue Suits. No, not that one. That was Live and Live.
Okay.
It was the one before that. So when they did High Behind the Mountain on there. So that
So you did Live and Alive first?
No.
Oh, wait. Wait. No, I got to get my facts straight. So Live and Alive was the Carolina Blue Suits.
Yeah, but that wasn't the first video.
See, that's where that's where you got to school me at.
So
the first recording y'all did, was there a video with it?
The first recording we did, the first recording that Keith did was the High Behind the Mountain record. It was Through the Storm.
Okay.
I wasn't a part of the group.
That was a studio record.
That was a studio
where
record.
They had the heads with no
the head. Yep. Yeah. Shout out to the director on there. So after that, Keith did a video.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposedly to be to that.
Right.
And it had High Behind the Mountain. That was cut at Creedmoor.
Yeah.
So it was the same place we did Center Revival,
yes.
But it was the first video that they did.
Okay.
And during that time, matter of fact, that was when Dre Tate was still singing with the Wonderful Harmonizers.
Yes, Lord. They was so cold.
They was smoking then. And you had E. Stewart and and you had some other people I can't remember it. But that Live in North Carolina was the first big thing that I did.
Did you rehearse?
Nope.
What? You did a lot. Wait. They was just like learn the Through the Storm album.
They said, here's a rehearsal.
That sounds right. That sounds accurate.
And Keith sent me a rehearsal that he taped. He said, this is what we're going to do.
And it was just bass, guitar, and drums on the rehearsal?
On the rehearsal.
Well, at least you didn't have to learn no parts. You just make up your own because ain't no keyboard in it.
Yeah. but the thing that I had to learn was Hezzy would always say, just follow me.
Okay.
So if he made a chord that was whatever the chord was, I had to figure it out to match what he was playing.
Yeah.
So it was challenging because I never did a rehearsal with him. And it was like, okay, here's the rehearsal. I sent you the tape. You get it so and so and so. And
wait, mailed the tape.
mailed the tape.
Yo, because we ain't no Dropbox.
No, it ain't no Dropbox. It ain't no WeTransfer. None of that.
Through the mail, like it'll be there in 2-3 days.
I sent the UP. I sent the through the post office, and you'll get it in 2 days.
Yo,
It's a package.
the rehearsal tape came in the mail.
And Keith said, and I wrote the names of the songs and what key they in.
Okay.
Oh, because and it had that flap
With the lines
with the lines on it, and it had Keith had, KJ
Yes.
and SV, rehearsal.
Yeah.
So I just got the tape, and I had to learn it on my own. Hey, Keith, when are we gonna practice? Oh, we ain't gonna practice. Just listen to the tape. So when they say let's go to Brooklyn, New York, that's it.
Yo.
So, we did the did the video,
Yep.
and I mean it is what it is now. I did
Yeah.
the best I could. The mix was wrong, but
So who mixed it?
the church.
Oh, interesting. Because that church it was one of them. Like everybody's used to today, how churches had the whole production suite.
Mhm.
They had that back then.
They had that back
cameras,
then.
audio. They could
Mhm.
record.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, "This is a one-stop shop. You just come in. We're gonna cut. They gonna mix. We're gonna put it out."
That's it, and no overdubs or nothing.
God almighty knows
The only thing they overdubbed up there was vocals, and it didn't come out sweet neither.
who overdubbed them.
They did it at church.
Everything was at the church.
Because then they had Tascam DA88s.
Because at this time, you're just Keith's keyboard player,
Absolutely.
but you're not even really his keyboard player yet.
No.
You just like, "Hey, this is a big recording. Come play."
That's right.
So when did you officially get hired?
I got officially hired when I was off the road from Charles,
Yeah.
and I was playing for my uncle's church.
Okay.
So it was just one of those things that he just asked, "Hey, you want a job?" Because then at the time it was Dewan, Hezzy, and a guy named John playing the bass.
Okay. So Spanky is not with Keith anymore?
Spanky's not with Keith.
Okay.
So that time when he asked me to play, he wanted to put Hezzy on bass because John had quit the group.
Interesting. So hold on. I want to make sure I'm right. It's a lot. So Spanky sung on Live and Alive though, right? Would
Yes.
be right.
That came after.
That's what I'm confused about. Okay, so continue. Y'all, I'm in school right now.
So when I came in the group, it was John. It was John on bass because Mario wasn't there.
Yeah.
So it was John, Dewan, Hezzy. He asked me to play.
Yeah.
Now, actually, we cut Live and Alive before then. I actually wasn't in the group then.
I know. That's
When we cut Live and Alive, the Be Right record, I was just, hey, we finna do another record. We finna do a live record, and you playing on the record.
Was there a rehearsal for that?
Nope.
Jesus. Y'all didn't be right with they rehearsed though.
They rehearsed in New York.
But you didn't rehearse with them.
Hey, June, man, I'm sending this tape to you, and it's going, I'm gonna do just like I did the last. That's Keith used to call me June. Yo, June. I put the keys in the tape.
Yo, you did the Be Right album with no rehearsal.
No rehearsals. No rehearsal. I was sitting in the living room with the cassette tape with my keyboard, just learning everything.
And you still weren't hired yet.
I won't hire it.
So y'all cut Live and Alive, Spanky's on, and you just the keyboard player.
Right.
Does Live and Alive come out in this transition, or it don't come out until you get hired?
It comes out.
So it come out. Did Be Right go crazy before you get hired?
It went bananas.
Yo, that song was smashing.
It went bananas. And I was like, I got the rehearsal. 1, 2, 3, da 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 da, ba da ba 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 ba. The one. So I'm learning all that in the living room. So you know, when we get to the recording, it's like you listen to the tape. I said, okay.
Okay, do we have a sound check to make sure?
Now make sure your keyboard is on. Can you hear yourself? Like, you got enough keyboard in your monitor?
Yo, this is wild.
Yep. And it was like, Keith, so we doing the song I Love You, June. I don't want Hezzy playing the beginning with no beat. I want that to be all you.
And you ain't rehearsed.
I haven't rehearsed.
But on the rehearsal, Hezzy playing the chords.
He
So you
playing
know
the chorus.
that makes sense.
But that song wasn't Keith's song. That was Cecil Washington. Back then it was the Mighty Voices, Mighty Supreme Voices.
And he was like, I'm gonna cut one of their songs.
He gonna cut the song because they eventually called the Texas Boys. But they had cut that song. Cecil Washington had cut that song. So I kind of was familiar with that song, I Love You.
That song is sweet too.
So it was like, June, I'm gonna say something. Then when I call you, I want you to play the intro.
Yeah.
So we would always after we cut the record, we would always talk about Keith. This is when Ty was in the group, because we would always talk about Keith talking that song out there. He would say, "How about that
love the Lord?"
So we was like, Keith, you meant how many out there love the Lord?
Yes.
So it was like, so we would all, that was like our joke.
Yeah.
So it was like, but when he said, when I call you, you hit the intro. So it was kind of like magic, because it was like when he called me, I hit the intro with no rehearsals.
Yo, that's crazy.
So it was like, I mean, and I was, during that time, Spanky was still that guy for Keith.
Yes.
Spanky still did all the productions, and he was very, he played a very important part of the group.
Yes.
In the production. So I was questioning, like, Spanky, you playing keyboard too? He was like, no, man. I'm just not gonna be standing on stage not doing nothing.
Oh yeah, because he Milli Vanilli on the keyboard
The whole time. So he just wasn't gonna be standing,
because he wasn't used to not playing nothing at the time.
Right.
Yo, he definitely had a keyboard and wasn't playing.
Yep. He had an N-Sonic. I think it was an SQ something. I don't know, but it was an N-Sonic. So I was like asking Spanky, like, what are you gonna play? Because I don't want to bump heads.
Yeah.
With what I'm doing, especially not having rehearsal.
Yeah.
So so he was like, oh man, he ain't got nothing to worry about. My keyboard ain't gonna be on.
Yo.
Yeah. So man, like, so it was that record was so magical, man.
Yes.
It was so magical because it's just like, the way it went, because we didn't practice, but it's just like when we all hit that floor and said,
it was
from
crazy.
Brooklyn, New York, let's
that's
go.
Crazy.
And it's, man, it's with that record, man, just so much that went on that was magical. Actually, a lot of people don't know, but the whole Be Right song, Keith sung that over in the studio.
Wait a minute. Why?
Because he was hoarse.
So he overdubbed the whole song?
Mm-hmm. If you listen to it good, you can tell that Keith overdubbed his vocal over. And Hezzy overdubbed his guitar over too, because his guitar, he changed his strings the night of the day before the recording.
Terrible idea.
And so his guitar was slipping. So it was like, we cut Be Right in A. I think it sounded like he was playing maybe like in between A and G, A flat, one of them. It was weird.
Yeah.
So he had to recut his guitar over. Yeah.
Yo, and it was still a smash. That was on what label was it on?
It was on Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Yep.
So the album comes out, the song is a smash. And then that's when the group members kind of change. And he
Right.
like, nah, I want to hire you full time.
Yep. Mario had left. Then that's when John was playing the bass. And then when John left,
He put Hezzy on bass.
he put Hezzy on bass.
So
he hired
then,
me.
and then there was no keyboard player no guitar player.
No guitar player. It was just me, Hezzy, and Dewan and Keith.
That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So hold on, I got to go back because we got to talk about the Quartet Legends album.
Okay.
Where was that at?
That was in the backyard.
No, but when?
That came after Live and Alive.
Okay, so I am right. My timeline is right. So y'all do the Be Right album. How does the discussions come up for him to do the tribute album?
So during that time, there would be Slim would do his anniversaries, and he would do different nights, but it would be as a package.
Okay.
So during that time, me and Spanky always talked about doing something together.
Okay.
So what happened was it was the winter time. So Spanky said, I'm just gonna stay down and we just gonna cut in the studio.
Y'all don't know what y'all gonna cut.
No, not really.
But you like, yo, we've been saying we're gonna do something. We're gonna do something.
Right. So
Spanky stayed in Rocky Mount.
he stayed in Rocky Mount. So he stayed at my mom's house.
What?
Yep. He stayed at the mom, which we was in the studio whole time.
That's crazy though.
So what we did, so on the way from that weekend, Spanky said, let's do a tribute album. So we said, okay, let's do it. So he said, we're going to do a tribute to the Quartet Legends. So the first 3 songs that we cut was Waiting for My Child, Tell Me What Road.
So did y'all do this? So the inspiration for the album came from Slim's anniversary.
Right.
So y'all seeing the groups, y'all hearing the songs. How many different nights was it?
It was 3.
And there was a different set of groups each night?
It was the same groups.
Okay, the same groups each night.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how the money was, but for some reason it was just one of those things that, Spanky said, well, I'm just gonna stay here. Yeah. And it might have just been that next week it was back down south. So instead of going back up and coming back, Spanky just said, well, let me just stay down here. And I think that's what it was. So Spanky stayed at the house and we would all get up in the morning and cut.
And it was that album?
It was that album. And
was it just you and him?
It was me and him at first and Maurice. Because Maurice played guitar on the record.
Right. Because this is Ray Markable Studio. This the 2 ADATs in the console?
Uh-huh.
Wait. Did you have any more gear?
Nope.
Yo, this is crazy. Y'all cut tribute to the Quartet Legends with the 2 ADATs, the DAT machine, and the 16-channel Alesis.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we did kind of step it up a little bit.
What y'all get?
We had got like a bunch of SM57 mics.
Okay.
So we probably had I had four 57s on drums, and then I had like three 57s we used for vocals.
Wait, the lead vocal too?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, you cut that whole album with SM57s. That's it.
That's it.
At least the kick drum mic was different.
Mm-mm.
Wait,
57.
How did y'all get a deal like on a set of 57s or something?
No, I think I don't know. I guess.
So did you do any research, or you just was like,
we just got it. We just knew if it was sure,
we sweet.
Yep. Like these.
If it's sure, it's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we did. So that was like the new piece to what we had then before we did that record.
So then y'all do that album. That one was another good one.
Yep. Yeah, we do that record. And then after we do that record, And we rolled a good little minute after that record, and then
Because you got Be Right, smash. Then you got Tribute to the Quartet Legends, which was an amazing album because
right,
it's paying homage to all the groups. All the songs already hits. Y'all
That's
just
right.
recorded they hits.
they hits. Yep, that's it. Yep, yep.
So of course y'all working.
Oh yeah.
So now you a member.
I'm a member.
So Spanky does Tribute to the Quartet Legends with y'all, and then shortly after is not in the group anymore.
Right. Right. And that hurt me because I learned so much from Spanky doing studio stuff and in production.
Because he's a beast.
Oh, absolutely.
God.
Like he's a monster.
Yes, and he know like that R&B stuff too.
Right.
So, now I got to ask you a production question. What was it like watching him cut vocals?
Man, it was like amazing because Spanky, he could do so much with his voice.
Yeah.
And even like when he would do like real high stuff, he would always give me his secrets on how to let the mic work for you.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to sing hard, but if you can hit the note, you let the mic work.
Yeah.
You know, you sing false with volume.
Yes.
And it'll feel natural.
Yes.
You know, so stuff like that, it's like that I use today.
Yes.
Because, you know, sometimes I have to be the top singer.
Yeah.
But I can't hit it natural.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll fake you out. You know?
Yeah.
But with that, it's just like I learned so much production wise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like you said, he had that R&B swag and he knew it. So it's like I applied it to what we did, because that's what made Keith so different, because he had that R&B kind of approach.
Yes. And I feel like from the outside looking in, Keith was the beginning of contemporary quartet.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was the first person that wasn't just straight down the middle.
Right.
And so it's interesting to hear the story behind that.
Yeah.
So you and Spanky produced the Legends album together.
Yep, we did it together. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And you and Maurice and Spanky did all the music.
We did all the music.
Dang it.
Yep.
Were you using like metronomes and stuff?
No.
Wait. So what y'all do? Play bass and drums at the same time?
At the same time.
And then
Yep.
So then you just like do a long count or something?
Yep. We do a long count. 1, 2, ding, 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 ding. Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Because back then, click tracks wasn't like hot back then.
Yes.
You know? And then I wasn't too up on like putting just a regular metronome down.
Yeah.
But for one, because in order to do that, you had to waste a track.
You ain't finna waste no track.
Oh,
no
we ain't,
metronome.
no. You better have good timing.
Yo.
You know, you better have good timing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, I think it was like 2 songs that I used my keyboard. That was Peace in the Valley, because Spanky programmed the drums. So of course that was metronome.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to lay no metronome because
So Spanky programmed drums on your keyboard.
on my X3. Yep. He programmed on my X3 and yep, it was Peace in the Valley. And man, and I think it was another song, but I can't The Last Move.
Yes.
Yep. The Last Move. He programmed those 2.
How long did it take y'all to finish that album?
We did that a whole week.
Wait. Yep. I've seen you do it before, so I know it's possible. But y'all did the whole album in a week.
In a week, yep.
When did Keith come?
He came that weekend before we left to go and sing.
So y'all were home on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Right. Yep. And I work, you know, because back then, of course, being at my back of my mom's house, you know, everybody that came to record, they would spend time in the house more so in the studio.
Yes.
Because they would be in there eating.
Yes, because your mom would be cooking that good food.
Yeah, so Spanky, you know, it's different ball game because, you know, northern people cook different than
Then
southern
Southern
people.
people. He like
So-
this food good.
So yeah, he would, and back then because it was snowing and stuff, you know, back then they would shut schools down and everything, so people would be at home. So Mama would go and you know, she knew Spanky was there. She was cooking breakfast every morning.
Ooh, so y'all waking up, eating, going to the studio,
Mhm.
go in there, go to lunch. I've seen it.
Yep.
Go back work,
Go back work. Yep.
and y'all work. I'm sure y'all worked all day, every day, and then finished the album was finished before y'all went on the road that weekend.
Yep, it was. Yep, and then we did and then Keith, because Keith and Spanky got into a little tussle with what songs Keith wanted to sing, because it was coming out so good. Spanky was gonna sing the whole song. Then he was like, "Man, I'm gonna save this for Baldy, man."
He
So
call him Baldy.
so Baldy can sing this song. I ain't gonna. That's Baldy song. Yeah. So, you know, so like I said, when Keith came in, he did his songs.
Yeah.
And then we needed one song. I think we needed one or two songs to add to the record to make it, you know, to complete the record.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we had like 10 songs or whatever. And then that's when we did Stretching Out, which was that song was written by Harold Turntine and his brothers.
Okay.
You know. So so we did that song, and there was another song that that we did. I can't remember. I think it was I don't want to say.
Yeah,
it 'cause I
don't say it.
remember.
Don't say it because you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
We'll look at the track list.
Yeah.
Later. So then y'all do that album. So did Cinder Revival come next?
Center Revival came next. No. The collection video.
Yes. So who said let's do it live?
Carrie did.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk about that. So y'all didn't even talk to Carrie about doing a tribute to the Quartet Legends.
No, we
y'all
just
just brought
did
him
it.
an album.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just got here's an album.
Right.
And he like, was he like, did he like it? Or did y'all have to sell him on it?
Whether Carrie liked it or not, Keith was so hot that it was just, he knew that he had content.
Yeah.
So he didn't care whether it bombed or what. He knew that Keith was hot. They have a record that I don't have to wait on, so let's put it out.
Yeah, because y'all just brought him a finished album.
Right. And Live and Alive was still doing good because Be Right was like
crazy.
right. And
so y'all put out the album. So then Carrie's like, you got to do a video.
right. Because people want to see us.
Yes.
You know, they wanted to see us. You know, we hardly ever wore suits, so we're gonna come out there with a shirt and pants and stuff like that.
Where
So
did y'all cut that at?
we cut that at the river in Raleigh at the time. Bishop Cheryl and Joby and Cheryl Brady.
So by the time this is interesting, by the time it's time to cut the video, Spanky's not in the group.
He's not in the group.
Was it was it a crazy split? Was it like bad or was it like
It was bad.
dang?
It was bad at that time.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I hated it because
Yeah.
here again, I'm in the group. I'm new to the group.
Yeah.
Me and Spanky gonna be busting these productions up.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
You excited.
yeah. So it's like, and he gone.
So now it's time to do the collection video. Hold on. It's so much. Y'all, hold on, because I'm in student mode. How do y'all hire Uncle Tyrone? Or was it the same thing as you? Like, we need you to play guitar on this thing. He won't hire, right?
No, he wasn't hired. He wasn't. Let me see. He wasn't hired. He wasn't hired till after we recorded. Like, as soon as we hit the last note, he was hired.
So you just was like, I need you to come do this session.
I asked, I told Keith, I said, we gotta have a guitar player.
Right.
We can't do a recording.
Where was Maurice?
Maurice was, I think he was still with Charles.
Okay.
He was still with Charles.
And you were like, we cannot do the collection video without a guitar player because his
Right.
guitar all over the studio version.
Right. Right. And so I said, I have a guitar player. Now, you know, Keith was kind of like, is he sweet, June?
Because at this point, he's having to trust you because you are automatically taking over Spanky's role.
Right.
So you become the producer by default of the collection video.
Right.
Just because it's like, okay, I'm the one to know the most about cutting the record out of everybody.
Right.
So
and then our music was more aggressive because I was playing keyboard. So it was keyboard driven because we didn't have a guitar player.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like when Keith holler squalling, you got somebody back there doing a solo. So
Yeah.
it wasn't that, but for this recording, that's what we needed.
Yeah.
So I told Keith, I said, I got a guitar player. I just got to get in touch with him.
Wow.
And while I was with Brother to Brother, I always remembered Tyrone with your grandfather's group.
Yes.
The Unity Airs.
The Unity Airs.
So, and what I was blown away because when it was time for Tyrone to solo, he would solo to mess out the guitar and he would put it behind his head and play.
Yes.
And like he was spitting fire behind his head.
Yes.
So it was like I always knew Tyrone had something special.
Yes.
Because anybody just don't play like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like when I was with Brother, we would always fellowship with each other.
Yeah.
Be with on his anniversary. But I always remember him.
Yeah.
So I called Tyrone. I said, Ty. I said, hey man, we finna do a recording. I need a guitar player. I said, now the guys don't think you can play. I said, but I need you to come.
Yeah.
So we actually had probably one rehearsal.
Okay, we coming up.
Yeah. Finally.
We finally.
And probably we probably had that one rehearsal because they wanted to see
if he could play. Okay, so after he played, what Keith say?
He said, man, where your box at?
Distortion.
He would call the box a distortion. And he said, okay, well, every time I holler and I point to your box, give me a solo.
And you already know he finna smash these solos.
I'm back here. I'm like, why y'all even doing this?
Yeah.
Because I know they didn't trust me.
Yeah.
So we playing. Every time Keith hollered and he pointed at that box, Ty would kill a solo. And Keith would be like, do that again. And Ty could never do the same solo again.
Right.
Because that's just
right.
So every time we did I Thank You.
Yeah.
At the end, they'd be like,
yeah.
Hezzy, that's enough.
That's enough.
So we would do we did I Thank You because that's a guitar song.
Yes.
So when we got to the end of that song and broke it, and Ty kept doing different solos, he was like, okay, he playing.
Right.
So we did a collection video. We had a great night.
Yeah.
Then that was the night Tyrone got hired.
Wow.
So here we are. I feel complete because now we have a guitar player.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's when it was Keith, myself, Hezzy, DeJuan, and Ty.
That's the crew. That's the Cinder Revival crew.
Oh, yeah.
Golly.
Yeah.
So how long were y'all traveling? No, you have to tell. No, we have to go back to the collection video because you have to tell the drum overdub story.
Well, and it wasn't DeJuan's fault.
Right.
It was. So we cut that video.
Yes.
And I went to the back and I said, hey, how everything come out? Oh man, I couldn't get the ADAS to record. I said, what? because back then you have to either format the tapes to record or you can format and record. So because it wasn't formatted, they didn't know that you can format and record. So when they just hit record, it wouldn't record. So just so happened they was doing a on the fly mix on a DAT. So what I had to do was take the DAT machine. I had to take the DAT audio and transfer that to ADAS.
Was it multi-track?
Nope.
Wait, yo, you overdubbed to a 2-track.
Overdubbed to a 2-track.
Yo, this is wild. Wait, but right, Keith's lead vocal is just loud enough.
It's just loud enough.
Did you like EQ or something?
I tried to.
So you took like the bottom and stuff out of the 2-track.
Right.
Yo.
So when, and of course we had to do overdubs anyway.
Anyway.
So, but I couldn't take out the overdubs from that night. So everything that night was already added. It was in there. So I had to add to it and just like Keith would say, mash it together, make it sound decent. So I had to play drums all over.
And the crazy thing is, I couldn't tell till later on. Like when you told me that, you played it exactly like the one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not paying attention, I did not know. I didn't know that's why you had to do that.
Yeah. Yep. So I had to play everything over. Tyrone had to come in and play his guitar over too.
Because it's just a 2-track.
It's just 2-track.
What? Now I'm like, why didn't somebody just stop the session and say we ain't recording?
Right. I don't know.
Yo.
Yep.
Yo. So at this point, is this your first time like going back there, like checking on stuff?
I didn't because I thought that they had it. Because
so you just going back there like, all right, this was a good night. How was it?
Yeah.
And they like,
like you talking about like hurt. Like I was so hurt. So and I didn't tell Keith until the next day. So
because you had to let that sit.
I had to believe the unbelievable. So it was like when I told Keith, I said, "Man, Keith, they didn't get no multi-track, so all they got was a DAT." They said, "Okay." So he didn't really understand what I was saying. I said, "No, Keith, I can't mix that." I said, "We either have to add to it or recut the video over." He said, "Okay." So the next day was our last show. He said, "June, I need you to bail me out of this."
Wow.
I said, "Okay." So that's when I took that whole week and I played everything over.
Oh my God.
I told Tyrone, I said, "Ty, man, you got to come back and play guitar, man." I said, I'll play the bass. I said, "I'll play it just like Hezzy." So since it's video, it's going to look like everybody's doing that.
It really does. Like if you don't know no better, you don't know that happened.
Yeah, and it was easy because what we did was what we did every night.
Yes. So you're just playing the show, but recording it.
Right.
And you memorize everybody's part because you hear it all the time.
Exactly how
you know exactly how everybody gonna play everything.
Right. Yeah. So the end of the week when we go out again, I give it to Keith. I said, "Hey man, I just bet I tried, man."
So that's where you develop. So because I heard you say this 2 times. Because I seen when we did Refuge that you did that in a week too.
Yeah.
The fact that you can start on a Monday and then like Sunday be like, all right, we finished.
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy, dog.
Yeah.
So y'all do that. And then when does Send the Revival, when do y'all decide, okay, it's time for another record?
I'm not sure how that went on. I think it's kind of one of those other things. Well, because Keith mindset was every year do a record.
Okay.
You know,
That's a very people should do that now, to be honest.
yeah, and I think he got that from Luther. I think he got that from Luther Barnes.
Interesting.
You know, it was like every year come out with something new.
Yeah, because y'all working.
Right.
And the thing about Quartet is a lot of stuff is annual.
Right.
And your show is going to be repetitive if you're not putting out new material.
Right. Right.
You got to add 1 or 2 new songs every time you go around because it's going to be the same people.
Right. And then radio the industry wasn't like it is now.
Yes. It was more accepting of quartets, radio and all.
Right. Right.
Yeah, which is why B Right was smacking.
Yeah. So it's like whatever we did.
Center Revival was smacking too. Right. Where did that song come from?
Revival. That's Center Revival came from Hezzy's family.
Wow.
Yeah, he had I think it's his uncles from South Carolina. They did that song.
And what about the guitar intro?
That's something Ty came up with.
That's ridiculous.
Because Keith specifically said, I want you to start this song off, Ty. He specifically said that. He said, I want you to start this song off, Ty.
And so then he had to come up with what he was gonna do.
Right, because when we did Center Revival, it was just me and Keith. When we did Center Revival.
And then Uncle Tyrone played guitar.
Right.
So that's how it's just y'all 3.
He wasn't there when we first cut the record.
Keith won't.
No, Ty.
Oh,
because Ty was still working.
He had a job during the week.
Yep.
So hold on. So y'all cut Center Revival with nothing in the beginning.
Right.
Wait. So it's just the drum thing, and then he come in, you like, this where the intro at.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to have a metronome or something then.
Yeah, I did. Yep.
How many tracks you cutting now? Still 16?
I think I had 32 then.
Okay. So what you do? Just buy another ADAT?
I bought 2 more ADATs.
Ooh, we cooking.
Yeah,
what kind of
tracks.
console was it?
It was a Mackie.
The one that you had until you switched over.
Uh-huh.
Yo, this is interesting.
It was a Mackie 32 by 8.
So you can do whatever you want now because 32 is almost unlimited for real.
Right.
Because you ain't finna use 32 tracks.
You ain't got the bounce, none of that.
Yo.
Yep.
So you cut the record, but the intro is empty.
Yep.
And then he just come in and that's what?
Yep. And then so he said, let's go to the country. I'm on the drum. Because actually.
But that was there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just had to fill in the beginning.
Right. No, the whole song.
The whole song was recorded without guitar.
Yeah, because when we cut the song, it was just me and Keith.
Right.
So it was me and Keith. I think I played bass first with the click track and
keep singing. I've seen you do that too.
Yeah. Because one thing that Keith was very good with, Keith could lead sing a song without everything else being there.
Yeah, he sung like a demo for you.
He's actually what Keith did. What's heard
That's
now,
not what he did with
that's
the bass.
That's what he did with the bass.
No.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, that's what he did with the bass.
The final lead vocal to Center Revival was cut with just bass and a metronome.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yo, that's insane.
Mm-hmm. And then we went back. That's why our background, me and Keith's background, always felt good because we could vibe off Keith's lead vocal.
Yes.
And Keith just had an imagination that was so awesome that he could lead a song even not having background vocals or even a bunch of music. He just could do that. He would always say, well, I don't need all that to do my part, And Keith would come in, especially when he was rushing. He would come in, he would do his lead vocal, and I would probably do like the bass with a click track. And then Keith would always go ahead and sing the bottom note.
And then leave.
Yep. And then I would come in and I would do, everything else and say, here, Keith, hear the song. Yep.
Yo.
Mm-hmm. And then even with Center Revival, the Center Revival record, a lot of I tell the stories all the time because some of that record was cut in the motel.
Yes. Tell that story.
So we did about 5 songs.
Mm-hmm.
Center Revival was included in one of them. Then we needed some more songs to complete the record.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that time we was on tour, so we was out. We stayed out in Texas
Mm-hmm.
for that whole week
Mhm.
because that following week we had to, we had to come back out that way. So we just stayed in Texas.
Yeah.
So during that time, Kerry had a 1880 machine, and he said, "Man,
Did you know anything about it?
no, because that's what Spanky was using. So I was just used to the ADATs. So that was a new thing because that was a hard disk recorder.
Oh yeah, we stepping it up now.
Yeah. So when we got there, got to Texas, I had to learn how to work the machine.
So Carrie owned it, and he was just like, here.
Yep. He was like, "Hey, y'all just take that and do whatever y'all need to do in the hotel." So, of course, we couldn't cut live drums in there, so we was using the bathroom for that. It was kind of crazy because we was using the bathroom as a sound booth, not knowing that the towels in the bathroom gonna make the stuff bounce everywhere. So I don't know what we was thinking.
So you had a keyboard.
I had a keyboard.
And you just laid like a little metronome or a click or something.
Right.
And did that. You just like, I'll cut drums when we get home.
Get home. Yep.
So final vocals were cut in the bathroom
Mhm.
for Center Revival.
Right.
Some of the stuff we listened to, what songs was cut in the bathroom? So I could go back and listen.
Heaven in View. I got heaven
Yes.
in my view. That song, Come Out Here. Come Out
Yes.
Here. That was done in there. And we did I wanna thank you.
That's one of my favorite songs in the whole world.
Yep, that was done there. And it was another song. I once if I see the list I
Yeah.
can tell you, but so some of those, so when we did those songs, when we got back, I just dumped it in to the ADAS and just cut drums and whatever else we needed to it. And there we go.
That album went crazy too.
That was a good record. That was a really good record. It was fun. And then after that, there came the video.
Yeah, Creedmoor, back in Creedmoor.
Yeah, we went back to Creedmoor, and they had because I knew how the first video came out. I said, we ain't doing bad English. We ain't doing overdubs here. They not gonna mix it. As soon as we finish cutting this record, give me those tapes.
Yes.
I didn't have a Tascam 88 DA88s. I said, but I'm gonna find a way to transfer it to ADAS.
And how did you transfer it?
There was a studio in Hamilton called the Music Box. He
Yeah, that's
recorded.
Ted, right?
That's Ted. He recorded on. Then he recorded on Tascam DA88s.
Yeah.
So I just took the tapes there. I bought my ADAS. We transferred it, and I bought.
So
it
you
back
had to transfer in real time.
in real time.
Just like let it play through.
Just let it play through. And because you have to have with those machines, each machine is 8 tracks. And if you got 4 machines, you have to have a tape for each machine, but you have to have maybe 1, 2, or 3 sets of 4s because you can't get about 45 minutes on a tape.
Yo.
So because that record was a lot, it was like 12 or 13 songs. I had 3 sets of tapes.
Yeah.
So 3 sets of 4s. So it was a lot of tape.
That's insane.
And and we don't have to worry about that now because we got hard drives.
Oh yeah. We got hard drives. Yeah.
So and that's another thing that technology has changed for us recording, because back then, people say I want my masters, they would have to pay me per tape. So if you got 12 songs and you using up 3 sets of 4s, you gotta pay me for all.
And
this
that's
tape.
and that's the thing that people don't understand. Like the value in masters was different then because it was something in somebody's hand that only one person could own.
Right.
So it's like literally in a vault, you go in there, there's a tape, here's your master.
Right.
And labels most time own that.
On that.
So artists got to pay
Yep.
per tape. Now it's a WAV file.
Right. Yep.
Yo, ain't that crazy?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I still got the masters to that.
Have you pulled them up?
I have.
Have you ever thought about,
I pulled it up one time.
you may should remix it and like re-release it or something, yo. No.
I don't fight fair now. So you know, I stay away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
but I did grab the masters because one of the songs we didn't release on that record. It was called "Can't You See God Working." We recorded it on that record, but we didn't release it on the Center Revival record. But what we did was Keith put out, I think it's on his Keep Pushing record. We re-released that song, but
Yes.
what I did was I dumped his lead vocal from the ADATs and re-recorded everything
in
for
the
that
computer.
for that record.
God.
So
man.
if you hear "Can't You See God Working," Keith had cut that. We had cut that when we
during
did
the center.
Center Revival record. Yep. And I didn't he didn't have to recut it because I was able to pull his vocal and and of course, with tape saturation, it messed with the time.
Yeah.
So I had to fit it to what we was doing.
Yeah. So you had to like move it over in some spots and stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Yep. So but if listening to his vocal is so awesome because it sounds so warm. That's because it was done.
Yeah, on the
on the tape. Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah. So that's I thought about it, but it's a lot of work and trying to get those
yes.
get it right. But we did some incredible stuff, and then just spot noting Keith. I'm glad that we was able to be a part of the last body of work that he's ever done. I mean, even with being away from his productions for so long, I'm glad that I can say that we was a part of his last work that he did before he passed.
Yeah, that's real. That's
And
real.
and that was incredible because when he came in the studio, we laughed because he was trying to sing the song. I think maybe he just woke up or he ate something and had to burp or something, but it was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was good because just hearing that what we did was incredible, and it's something that we can say that hey, we was a part of.
Shout out to Keith, man.
Yeah.
That tore us up.
Yeah.
That was tough. But if you had to say one thing, what would you say the biggest lesson you learned with Keith?
The biggest lesson that I learned, man, and this is this is real talk. That value every moment.
Yes, sir.
And true friends are gonna have bumps in the road.
Yes, sir.
Because that's what make y'all true.
Yes,
sir. And what makes your friendship stronger is knowing that you're gonna have bumps in the road, but you're able to overcome those bumps in the road.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that me and Keith was good.
Yeah.
So our history kept us loving each other.
Yes, sir.
Instead of because we had a bump in the road, we saying that, hey man, I ain't speaking to you.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to have nothing to do with you because seasons change.
Yes, sir.
I know when it came down to us doing production together, I knew that, my time may not be that time.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I can cherish those moments to the point that I can say, brothers gonna fuss and fight.
Yeah, they are.
And but at the end of the day, when you look at it all, life is precious, and when you look at things that you've done together, then you can appreciate the friendship that y'all had.
Yes.
So it being with Keith and being apart, it really taught me to take every moment serious.
Yes, sir.
And not let the little things or the issues keep you from saying that's still my brother.
Yeah, man.
Because wrong or right is some things that you know we just don't we just gonna be wrong about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And no one's perfect, but at the end of the day, when you can look back and say, hey, we was awesome together.
Yeah, man.
So just
Y'all made
because,
history.
yeah, and just because he didn't tie his shoe the way I wanted him to tie his shoe, that ain't a reason why I walk around and don't speak to you.
Yes, sir.
Or I see you at a friend of our funeral and we're not speaking because of what?
Yeah.
No, life is too precious.
Yeah.
So, I learned that to cherish every moment.
Yeah.
And even when I'm wrong or just right the wrong,
Yes, sir.
Because we can be here today and gone today.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't want to leave or be mad with my brother and he leave unexpected and then I'm saying I couldn't get it right. I didn't have a chance to get it right. So any moment that I could get it right, I try my best to, and sometimes we may not know how to do it.
Yeah.
But it's just having that time to do it. And hey, like they say, forgiveness is for us too.
Yeah.
So
more for us than the other person. For real.
yeah. So I I learned, that's the biggest lesson that I learned from Keith.
Yeah.
Not knowing that I would learn it in this season.
Yes.
And that it would take him to leave for me to get it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we was able to get it.
Absolutely.
Get it right before he left, because it could have been me.
Yeah. Facts.
So
facts.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah. So
all right, y'all. We'll be right back. What up, y'all? We back. We had to take a little bathroom break, low key. I did. Hey, but now that we talked about Keith, and I want to ask you something that I don't know. I've seen a lot of it, but I want to know. Was when you got with Keith and when like those albums came out, was that the start of you starting to like produce artists that wasn't local?
Yeah. It definitely set another level of people, because by me doing the Keith records, it really like people like wanted that sound.
Okay, because now your sound is heard nationally,
right?
Where it's just like Rocky Mountain, Wilson, Greenville. Now it's like everywhere,
right?
Because Keith's music is being heard everywhere on the radio,
right?
So do people start to come to you? Like, how did you start to get clients from that?
Well, they was always back then people always read the covers and look at the credits, and they was always wondering like, what studio y'all cut in? And then when they found out that I had a studio, then they started researching other records that I've done.
Yeah.
So, and when they start researching other records, they noticed that their other records didn't sound like Keith.
Ooh.
So it was like, it was John Doe and the Never Had a Gospel Singers.
Yeah.
They had their own sound.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't make them sound like Keith.
Wow.
And that was that was my goal, is to not have whoever that I touched or produced to sound like what we were doing.
Yes.
And I would have my moments with groups, and they would say, yeah, just like y'all do it. No, we don't need a just like we do it. The world needs to know who you are.
Yes.
And if you don't know who you are, let me help you find out who you are. Through production. So a lot of people was researching things that I've done, and when like I say, when they was researching it, they was noticing that everybody had their own sound.
Yeah.
They had the sound,
Yeah.
but they was who they are.
Yes. And who was like, what was the first group that you produced that would be considered professional outside of Keith?
Oh man, when I'm asked that question, I always shoot a blank.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you one album that I remember. I don't know what they would be considered, but I remember y'all cutting that Jackson Sisters record that never came out. That
Yeah,
was so good.
yeah, that was that was a great record.
So good, man.
That was a great record.
Yo,
That was a great record. That was. It really was.
yo.
It was.
I hate that never came out, man.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
good. I
that was
remember because
great.
I was there in those days. The crazy thing is, I'm gonna take you back. I remember coming to the garage with the Southern Wonders.
Right.
And that's when I would see, I'm like, because that's when I realized it's like, I think this is what I want to do. Like when I would see you like run to the
Yeah,
corner and then
yeah.
throw the headphones on, I'm like,
yeah,
this is interesting.
because I didn't have a remote control, so it was like I had to go and run and hit play or record and then count the song off because I didn't have a band. So it was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you do all that, you get to Keith. People are, so after Keith's albums come out, you're sought after and you start doing what you do. Did you do any more big records in the garage before you moved?
I think I did, but I just can't remember.
Yeah.
But I will say, before, um, I think the next big record that I did was Damon Little.
But you had moved upstairs.
I had moved upstairs.
See, now we talking. Let's talk. Because I remember that too.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you say, okay, we gotta step it up and get out of the garage?
Cause I got tired of people coming to my mom's house.
Yeah.
It's like, I thank God for, you know, my mom's garage and them and then the neighbors too.
Yeah.
Because no one on the block ever gave me a problem. Like they was like, "Hey, y'all playing music today? Cause we haven't heard nothing in a while." They like wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
But then I wanted that because clientele had gotten so big.
Yes.
Like I really wanted that space that when I go home to go to sleep, I don't have to worry about nobody saying, "Can you make me a CD or something?"
Yeah, like I ain't at the office, I'm at home.
Right.
Like I can't walk to
Close.
Yeah.
Come back tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
And so I wanted to venture out and just have a location that was away from home.
Yeah.
That, of course, we could be free to do what we do, recording, but then, it's like, don't be walking to my mom's house.
Yeah.
Y'all smell bad, y'all been outside smoking or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's just having that privacy.
Yeah.
Because I just, I don't want to be bothered when I'm not recording.
Yes. So you get a new space. You record Damon's album. That's the album with what is it called? It's not called Shoes in real life.
Do Right.
That's the Do Right album,
Do
right?
Right, huh?
At the time, was he signed to Worldwide?
He was signed to
Is
Worldwide.
that how it happened? Was it through Carrie or?
Well, actually, I'm gonna tell you something, and people don't know. I had left Keith for a minute.
Okay, talk.
I had left Keith for a minute. And when I left Keith, I was playing. I started playing bass with Damon.
Wait, this is important because before the break, that's where we stopped. We have to go back to that. What made you leave Keith?
I think he made me mad. He made me so mad, and I was like, you know what,
I'm out of here.
I'm gone. And so I left. And and during that time, I don't know if I don't know if I don't know. It was something petty. Me and Keith
Yeah.
was just having those moments.
Yeah.
But I left and that was when Damon was like hot.
Straddle the fence.
Straddle
was
the
out.
fence. And then Damon said, I want to do a record. Ray, I want you to do my record. And so during that time, his brother Pop was playing the bass.
Playing the bass.
And sometimes the music was a little bit too much for Pop. So
Yeah.
I would come in and I would play the bass.
Yeah.
So so during that time, while I was playing bass for the group, Damon's like, let's go in the studio, cut a record. So we go in to cut a record.
Yeah.
Same scenario. We cut a record without consent from Kerry. And all he knew was we working on a record and it's done.
So you never got clearance from Kerry. You always just took the albums to him.
Mm-hmm.
But of course he trusted you like that because he wouldn't have known what to do no way.
Yeah, he trusted me through the artist, but it was okay for him because he was the label. And if I bought a record or the artist bought him a record, that was something that he didn't have to spend money on trying to get done.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a win for a label.
Right. So all he had to do was worry about either paying me or or just
what it takes to get the album out, the
Right.
promotion, the
Right.
radio, the
right.
whole label thing.
Right. And he knew that the record was a great record because when he heard it, he already knew what the single was.
What was the single?
Long as I got shoes.
Which we have to tell. I gotta know the story because that song smacked. So you playing with Damon. So after the weekend, Damon just come back to Rocky Mountain. Let's cut a record.
Mm-hmm.
So were y'all cutting like one song at a time, like over the course of time, or y'all did a whole bunch of songs?
We did a whole bunch of songs.
The same as Center Revival. Like
Mm-hmm.
y'all, did you do like most of the album in a week?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm understanding this whole, because you dealing with people that's out of state.
Mm-hmm.
So they just like, I'm gonna come hang with you for the week, and you like, all right, we're gonna get it all done this week.
Right, because most of their shows was in the South.
Got you. So then we just go back on the road the next weekend. Y'all just stay here.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So
because Damon's from up north too, not New York, but Baltimore.
Baltimore, yep. So he would stay out. He would tell the group, "Hey, we staying out. If y'all want to go home, y'all can go home and just meet back so and so and so."
Yeah.
So we would do the record. Then it was me. It was me and Sheba.
Yes.
And whatever Sheba didn't want to play, she would always recommend Ty.
Yes.
Which Ty was my go-to
right.
anyway.
Right.
So he would play whatever Sheba didn't want to play.
Yes.
And
so y'all did that album in a week?
In a week.
Whose idea was it to redo the Bill Monk song?
That was Damon's idea. And but of course, not that the song didn't make sense, but the verse didn't make no sense. But it came out an incredible song because the vibe of the song was so hot.
Listen here. He ain't talking about nothing in that verse, but that record feels so good you don't care.
Yes,
that verse is
like for real. Like I was blown.
That ain't the original verse, is it?
No, that's not the original verse.
It can't be.
No.
So tell me this, because you played everything except the guitar on that song. Mm-hmm. Tell me the process of that song. Who said Al Green?
Damon always tried to sound like Al Green. Like he's very influenced by Al Green.
Yeah.
So, and he knew how he knows how to turn it on and off.
Yes.
So with him saying Al Green, I just immediately started thinking vintage.
Yes.
So like, let me get that old feel with B3 organ and Fender Rhodes.
And you had a Rhodes in there.
Uh-huh.
Which that's a crazy story how you got the Rhodes too. But you had the Rhodes in there and then you just like tune the snare down and all that.
Tune the snare down. And it was just, okay, Sheba, you know, how you gonna start the song off?
Wow.
And it was just like 1, 2, 3, let's go, Sheba.
Yo.
You know, and here it is me, Sheba, a click track, and Damon. So I was on bass with a click track. She was on guitar.
What?
And
then you also most times you play the drums and keys after.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yo, that's yo.
Yeah.
Yo. So then y'all take the record to Carrie. And Carrie like that's the single.
Mm-hmm. And then here I am. You know, every time I turn on the radio, that song is on. Top of the hour is on.
Yes.
You know, the
verse
intro.
don't make sense or nothing
At all.
on the radio.
At all.
But it was produced so well, and it has such a good. It was a commercial song, even with the verse not being good.
Yeah, it was.
It was a good. Like you almost, unless you were paying attention, y'all have to go listen to it. What's the song called again?
Shoes, long as I got shoes.
Okay, yes, go listen to it because I be calling it Shoes, but the song is good.
Yeah.
So I have to imagine at this point, after Damon, that's the timing of everything because you like, okay, I gotta get out of my mom's house. You go to the building downtown, you do Damon's record, it blows up.
Mm-hmm.
The phone is off the hook at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Cause now you got another one.
Yeah.
Like he could do it more than one time type of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So after you do Damon, what kind of calls are you getting?
I'm getting calls from everywhere. It's like, man, I even got a call from Paul Porter.
Yeah.
Back then, and he was like, yo, who did Long As I Got Shoes, Damon? I said, I did. Who played this? I did.
Well,
who played that?
I did.
So he was like, what?
Yeah.
He was like going crazy because
you played everything except the guitar.
Yeah. And he was like, because back then they were still dealing with bands. You know, when you do a recording session, it's like we have to hire a piano player, a bass player. So everybody's gonna be in the same room. And what he was blown away that it wasn't a band, but it
felt like people vibing together in a room. Right. It did.
Right. So he was like, man, I can't believe it. And every time he would see us, he would always, man, you a genius, man.
That's Paul.
Y'all hear that song? And they were like, what song? Damon Luda's song. That joker right there playing that.
Yeah, that's Paul.
You know? And he would all, man, we're gonna do something together. So it was like from that, when that song hit, it was like it opened up a whole nother level of people.
Yeah, because I remember, because I'm like, yo, people coming from everywhere. Mm-hmm. People live in the crazy, like they all coming to Rocky Mount. Mm-hmm. Like, 'cause I remember you used to like get the tapes and stuff. Like, all right, Mom, this is what we're gonna do. We gotta have this ready before they come. Then they come in and do it. It's like, dang. Yeah. And it was like clockwork, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, and I thank God for it because, you know, I never did any advertising or nothing.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, man, amazing how people was calling and even saying, hey, I want you to do my stuff because here again, other than certain songs on Damon's record that I sung background, the other songs was like, it don't sound like Keith.
Yes. Damon sounded nothing like Keith. Damon's album sounded nothing like Keith.
Mm-hmm. And Keith fussed me out because he said, man, why you singing on this record?
Oh yeah.
You know, because that was the only thing that could identify his record
Yeah.
with Keith's because of
Yeah.
my voice.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, and it was just kind of like one of those things that, you know,
Yes.
but that was a great record. But it was unbelievable how everybody started saying, "I want you to do my record,"
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, and it just went from there.
Yeah. So once you start rolling, did you ever get to places where you felt burnout?
I did,
Mm.
I did because then I started dealing with artists that wanted to they wanted me to do their record, but they was bringing that ego,
Yeah.
and all they wanted was a record, but they thought they knew what kind of record or how they want to do it. So it was like ego, and it's like then some people they just wanted my name to be on the record, and so it's kind of like you you want me to do it the way you want to, and my thing was, you know, if you know what to do, then why call me? You know, I'm not needed because you got all the answers and you know what to do.
Yeah.
Because well, I've been doing it for 20 years and this and that. And I said, okay, I respect that. But you may have been doing it 20 years wrong,
Facts. That is very possible.
you know? And but in order for me to be a part of this record, it has to be done this way,
Yes.
you know. And then too, my style of producing always made the artist feel involved, so you don't have to come with the ego.
All right. So explain what you mean. What is your style of producing? I'm gonna fix my chair.
My style of producing is give me your vision.
Yes, sir.
Like tell me, even if you don't know how to speak it, but just tell me what you want out of your record.
Mm. So is this normally the first conversation you have?
The first conversation. Because it's anybody can say, let me just record a record. So let me hear what's your vision for this record, other than just recording songs, because I need a new record to keep working.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, I want to be a consumer and say, I'll buy that record, or that's a great record,
Yes.
and I don't have to skip a song because all the songs are great.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me hear you talk, but let me try to help accomplish your goal, but let me just polish up what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you may have a sketch of what you want,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not clear to the point that you know exactly what you need.
Yeah.
So it's like I always said, well, you tell me what you want, I'm gonna give you what you need.
Yes, Lord.
So
being that you always start your projects off with that, you still encounter people that gave you pushback?
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So have you ever been in situations where you said, I don't think this gonna work?
Yeah. And I'll have moments that I will say that in a aggressive way.
Uh-huh.
And after I say it, and after the artist would kind of blow off their steam, I had to remind them or tell them I wasn't talking to them. I was talking to their ego.
Ooh. Ooh. So you're aggressive communicating with their ego.
With their ego.
And then they calm down. You're like, okay.
Now I'm talking to you.
That's heavy.
Because our egos is trying to put ourselves on the same level.
Right. And you like, I do this.
I do this. Like this what I'm called to do.
Yes.
You know?
And there's a difference and that's the thing I want you to talk about too. Artists coming in thinking that they are producers.
Oh my God. I get it all the time. Like, and my first question, why am I here? If you're a producer, you know, you produce your record, then let me take the role of being an engineer.
Right, which means okay, the computer is on.
Yeah, like I'm gonna make sure that it sounds great. I'm gonna make sure that it's recorded right, and I'm gonna make sure that it's mixed right.
Right.
But don't you ask me what I think because I'm not a producer.
Ooh! Right.
So it's like, and they would think I'm being funny when we would acknowledge who's the producer, and then I would just take the role of being the engineer.
And then they'll be in there in the session like, well, this is not going well. I guess I should let you be the producer.
Yeah, when they find out it's the train done wreck, and then when you find out that your way is not making sense or even working, so now I have to double back and fix up what you messed up
Yes.
because you didn't listen.
Yes.
So if you know how to produce and you know all of that, then why are you asking me anything?
Yes.
I'm just gonna stay in my lane.
Yeah.
So when I would do that, they always thought I was being funny. But I'm not gonna produce something and you telling me you're a producer.
Yeah.
I have another hat. I can just be the engineer.
Yes.
Right.
Because that can become very, very frustrating and stressful. So it's like, if you got it, then go ahead.
Yeah, because you already not trusting me. And and I shouldn't have to lay my resume on the line to say.
So do you think that they have come to you wanting to produce their own record, but wanting your name attached to it so that it would succeed?
Yeah. Yeah, and I would call it out. You're not gonna use my name for whatever reason, especially that's not what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
I'm gonna either produce it or you're gonna produce it.
right?
And then your name can be
And your name can be on there, and it's not gonna be your name and Ray Braswell. No, that's not it. No.
Yeah.
Just give me another record that you produce.
Yeah.
And honestly, like if you know how to do it, you don't need me. Don't have me in the way.
Yeah. Facts. And I like you said though, when ego's in the way, that can seem harsh, but it's really the reality of the situation. It's just like any business, any organization, any team, everybody got roles.
Everybody has roles. And I'm that guy that it doesn't bother me if I'm not producing.
Yeah.
Because I've been in the shoes of just being a studio musician.
Yes.
Or even just being a producer that don't play.
Yes.
Or been the songwriter.
Yes.
And not playing or arranging the song.
Yes.
Or producing the song.
Right.
I'm just a songwriter.
Yes.
So I know how to stay in my lane, and that's so important to me.
Yes.
So but I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Like they just want the name. They want the name and use the name to get to where they're going.
Yes. Which I don't know how you're gonna handle it. I don't know how we're gonna go. Of course, we're not going to name names, but I've seen with my own two good eyes you single-handedly start groups' careers. I've seen it happen more than one time. And then it be treated as if that's not true. And it pisses me off so bad. And I'm just like, bro, I was there. You was all right at home. But didn't nobody know you if you weren't at home. And it doesn't matter what transpires or what an artist decides to do next. It doesn't change that truth.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it's a hurting thing, but I have to remind myself that God has given me the ability to work with many artists versus one artist.
Yes, sir.
So, and one thing about it, you're not gonna be on top
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And it's gonna come a time where you gonna have to come back.
Yes.
And that's what me, that's what anybody. So it's like I make sure that when I leave the nest that I can come back and say, hey, this is where I came from, and show appreciation to the person that helped me get to where I am.
Absolutely.
And with knowing that, that's what keeps that negative energy, you know, suppressed, because it's like I know what I've done, and I know that I've been genuine.
Yes.
So I just kind of let it roll.
So going back to that for a second, what gives you the heart to even want to do that for artists in the first place? Like to put them on, basically.
Well, it's kind of like I have a heart for artists,
Yes, sir.
and and I know that this whole thing is just like playing the lottery.
Yes, sir.
We play because we hoping to win,
Yes, sir.
but I get enjoyment when I'm able to help someone win, because I know if they win, I win.
Absolutely.
And if I can sow a seed into them, whether they acknowledge me or not, at the end of the day, I can walk away saying that I did my part, I did it well, and I was able to help them
Yeah.
get started, you know, to the point that they're able to accomplish a dream or live out a
Yes.
dream,
Yes.
because somebody had to give us a chance,
Yes.
and they took a chance out on me. And it's like, if I can be that person to help get them started, I'm good.
And the crazy thing is though, it's not just artists.
Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy thing. And I don't know if I ever, number one, I think I did tell y'all the story about the XB60 that you left in my mama's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how to sequence. And then I think I've talked about it. I'm going to just talk about it. You were when I realized, when you left that keyboard at the house,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I was like, it records? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, wait. And then I was in there every day. I'm like, hold on. I could put this on this track and this on this track. And then I'm like, I think I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because before that, this is what's crazy. And I'm going to try not to cry. Before that, I've never told you this. I used to set the same house.
Mm-hmm.
I used to set my keyboards up in the middle of the room and pretend I was playing with Alive and Alive. Gigging. I'm talking about got the Casio popping. I'm talking about I'm full-fledged going ham to every single song. I mean, like, nobody's in there. I done got in the living room, because you remember the CD player was on top of that big TV. I used to set up my keyboard in front of the TV, go up there, turn it on, go back there, and I'm in there. I'm on stage with y'all going crazy. Yo.
Wow.
So then you bring the keyboard, and I'm like, dang, I can record. So then when you and my mom got married and I'm there, it's like I'm learning, but Jamario's there.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Cox is there.
Mm-hmm.
Samoa is there. We still talk about it now. Like, Ray let us up in that studio and he wasn't even there.
Mm-mm.
Like, Samoa talk about it all the time to this day, because it's like that was their introduction to recording and production.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they started.
Yeah.
And then you see them now and it's like, dang.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, there are so many, there are countless stories of people starting with Ray. What up, y'all? I'm Rajay, and I'm interrupting the pod to present an opportunity for y'all to support the brand and the fam. So do this for me. Head over to rajxsha.com, click the merchandise tab, and grab a hoodie, t-shirt, or hat. And remember this thing: no matter what people say or think, live your life. Now back to the episode.
Wow.
Like I know how to record from Ray, or I know how to be a session musician from Ray, or I got this record deal because of Ray. And I shout it loud. And like I hold people accountable. Like we're not going to act like that's not true. Because it is. You know what I'm saying? It like I did a podcast with Chris like not too long ago. I released it where I was which is good. I want to hear your perspective too. Like where the other thing that pisses me off really bad is the all race stuff sound the same. That pisses me off really bad. And I'm gonna tell you why it pisses me off really bad. And I say this and I always say it. Chick-fil-A tastes the same every day.
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's tastes the same. You're actually not doing a good job if you don't have a consistent sound.
Right.
It's branding.
Right.
Nike has the same check on all clothes. They not just gonna change the check.
That's right.
And when you're building something, you have to build a brand. You have to have a sound. Now, this is one thing you taught me. It may not be somebody's preference,
right?
But I got a sound, and I'm gonna always have clients because of my work ethic and my consistency,
right?
And the crazy thing is, it normally comes from people who desire to accomplish things you've already done.
That's right. That's right.
And that's what pisses me off. Because where there should be respect and homage and questions asked, there's criticism. I don't understand. Where do you think that comes from?
That's ego.
Yes, sir.
And like you said, if when because I hear it all the time. And if they give me the microphone after they say it, I don't know who to be but myself.
Yes, Lord.
And it's like when I grew up, when you listen to any Malaco record, you can tell.
Yes. Every Malaco record sounds like a Malaco record.
Yeah, you can tell by the piano, you can tell by the snare. You can tell by listening to certain elements in it that it's Malaco.
Yes.
And then when you listen to Motown,
godly,
you know that it's Motown.
Off the rip. I don't care what song it is, you know it's Motown.
And I've always wanted to be recognized for me and not recognized because I sound like somebody else.
Yes.
So let me establish who I am.
Yes.
And not only when I establish who I am, but let me be consistent with who I am.
Yes.
So I don't want to sound like nobody else. I want to be able to stand alone. So when people hear anything I've done,
they know.
They can say, that's Ray.
That's Ray.
So I just don't know who else to be.
Yes.
But who I am.
Yes.
Through my sound or whatever, that's just it.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole lot of musicians out here that can play. And I talk about it all the time when musicians they get these motifs and then they start turning the release down or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not something that they just picked up on their own. They got that from somebody. And so it's like, let me just be unique and have something that people can recognize me for me. That was so important because I want to be able to stand alone. Like I say, when they hear it, they can say that's Ray.
Yes.
So,
and I'm sure there are people like even outside of Quartet that has come to you like, I know that's you.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good. But and two, I'll be honest with you, when they say that, when they say stuff like his stuff sounds the same, it used to bother me, but it don't bother me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like saying to myself, at least you know who I am.
Yes, Lord.
And
it's like it's crazy it's crazy to me. That whole idea is crazy to me because if I hear Timberland, it's Timberland. Off the
Right.
real, I'm talking about eyes closed. I could be in a store right now, and if a Pharrell song comes on, even if I don't know the song or the artist, I know he produced it.
Absolutely.
And my wife used to be like, "How do you know that?"
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "When you listen to them enough, you know that's them.
Right.
They all have a signature sound.
Right.
They all got signature drums, signature keyboard patches, signature tempos. That's the thing. And like when you're building, that is the thing. And the funny thing about it is that sound that got you where you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people, when they pay their money, they're not gonna pay you to be like somebody else.
No, they
'Cause
can't.
If that's the case, they might as well go to
No,
that
that's-
person and pay them.
Okay, now I have to ask you another producer question. Have you ever had an artist come to you and then ask you for something you don't do? And you be like, huh?
Yeah, I'll say quickly, I don't do that.
Yes.
But I know who can. I'm not even gonna waste your time or your money. But go to John Doe. 'Cause
Yes.
that's what he does.
Yes, man.
I don't do that. I'm not gonna, I'm not one of those guys that's just trying to make money
Yes.
and know good and well I can't do it.
All right, let's talk. See, because now we got to talk about that. How do you decide what to say yes to and what to say no to?
Well, in my almost 30 years of doing this,
Yes.
I like to talk to people because I don't want to just jump in and just say, let me just make this money, because all money ain't good money.
All money ain't good money. That's one thing you taught me, boy. All money ain't good money.
And it's like, and as I talk to people, for one, and I'm not talking just to kind of, to be kind of weird or nothing, but I like for people to feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm talking to them, I want to see how they talk and how they move, because that lets me know how I need to move.
Yes.
And then it's going to give me an idea of how this is going to turn out.
Yes.
It's even like when I talk to groups, everybody's saying, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do it. But when the rubber meets the road, it changes, because you start trying to question, like, well, so and so, or you move kind of slow. But I like to talk to people because they may say something that lets me know, nah, we can't do it that way. Or if you're open to this and that, but if you coming in with a mindset that's saying, I'm gonna pay you this money and you better do what I say.
And you can normally tell that off one conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when it gets to that, I say in the beginning, hey, just get somebody else. Because that's not gonna go right. Because just because you're paying me, that doesn't mean I'm your robot.
Right. Especially when you're paying me to provide a service that I specialize in.
Right.
You are not at Longhorn in the kitchen telling the cook how to cook the steak. You're
Right.
waiting for them to bring it to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's just it. That's it.
You pay for the steak, they cook it, they bring it to you, you eat it.
Right.
You are not back there telling them how to cook it.
Right.
And that's the same thing with production.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, I want it medium well, or I want it medium rare. You can say, I want this side instead of this side,
Mm-hmm.
but you ain't telling them how to cook.
How to cook it. Because if you start doing that, I'm going to say, come here. Do it. Because, if you know how to do it,
Yeah.
don't waste my time.
Yeah.
You you just do it.
Yeah.
So, I just have those conversations, because if I think it's gonna get a little weird and it's gonna become frustrating to me,
Mhm.
I'm in a season now that what I love to do is not gonna be stressful for me.
Yes. Yes. So in your younger years, you could take a little more.
In my younger years, I would be super sensitive to the point that if the artist wasn't doing what I thought they should do, I would get into a battle with them because I believe in them so much, but they couldn't see it.
Mm.
So it's like I'm dealing with that ego thing again, and I'm dealing with because you could sing and I can't. I'm dealing with you just telling me what to do all because you could sing.
Mm.
You may can sing and you can run all day long, but you ain't saying nothing. Say something to me.
Yes.
Because you can sing. I'm not taking that from you. You can
Yes.
sing your butt off. But you ain't got nothing to say. Tell me something.
Yeah.
Like, give me something to take home
Yes.
and live with.
Yes.
Don't just sing a bunch of runs and you sound pretty and you ain't saying nothing.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Nah, don't do that. So I would be so super sensitive with the groups that I would become emotional to the point I would get frustrated.
Mm.
And I would go back and forth or find myself going into a debate. But I had to stop and say, why are you debating with ain't been nowhere?
Yes.
Ain't been nowhere trying to tell Ben somewhere where to go.
Yes.
You can't tell me where to go if you ain't never been.
Yes. Absolutely.
So it's like I'm just trying, like I had to change up all that. And I just had to let it go. That's why I have those conversations.
Yes, because now, yes, because back when you were younger, things that you would find out after you've already said yes,
Mm-hmm.
you up front with it now, like, oh, I've seen that before. Let's not even do this.
Right.
Now, have you ever been in situations where I know the answer, but I want to ask so the people can know? Situations where you've seen something in somebody and said, hey, I want to do some music for you. Because I know there's the side of I'm an artist or we're a group. We want to get a record done. Now, what about where you pull somebody who ain't thinking about it but has a talent? Have you ever done that?
I've done that. And to add, there have been many artists that has a heart for being an artist and has a dream of being an artist, but they don't have the money to get there. And I've always wanted to be, um, you know, I people shouldn't have to go on American Idol just to accomplish a dream. And if I see, um because one thing people don't realize that because we are musicians and we play, sometimes they don't think that God dwells within.
Mm.
But just as much as the Lord speaks to the pastor that's in the pulpit, he speaks to the musician that's playing.
Yes, sir.
And God has spoken to me on several times to tell me to bless that person that can sing, may not have a song, may not have no money, but just bless them to the point that um that it could be a life changing for them that they will remember for the rest of their lives.
Yes, sir.
And I've been in situations that I've blessed people and said, "Hey, um, would you come and record? You know, I don't want your money's not good to me.
Yeah.
So it's not about money. I don't want nothing off of it, but I just want to be a blessing to you because I see your heart."
Yeah.
So and because I've seen their heart, I've done churches like that. I've went to churches and um pastor preaching and choir singing, and I've uh you know the Lord has spoke to me and said, "Hey, tell that tell that pastor that you're gonna record a live that choir live." And I've done it.
Wait, like more than one song?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I've done a live recording for a choir in South Carolina, and the Lord spoke to me sitting in the service. We was off that Sunday, and I went to the church with a friend of mine.
You were just visiting.
I was just
Never
visiting.
been there before.
Mm-mm. Went to the church, and Lord spoke to me and said, "Tell the choir you're gonna do a live recording on the choir." And I did it. I didn't charge him a dime, you know, and came out. The recording was awesome, you know, and I did my part. I didn't worry about how I was gonna eat, none of that,
Yeah.
you know. But I was just obedient,
Yeah.
and I've done it with many singers or whatever. It's like, you know, when God speaks, you just got to do it,
Yeah.
and it's not. And if you're doing it from your heart, then it's not about the money
Yeah.
because He said in His word He'll supply your every need.
Yeah. And like it'll come back. It'll come back. Like
Absolutely.
when you sow into people, it'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've seen you do that, and I'll be like, man, that's nice. like I'll tell you, like, even today, because of you, if I produce an artist, I don't charge the studio time by the hour.
Right.
Because that's what you do. Honest to God. And then I understood, like, you can't take your time and pour your passion into any project if you're staring at the clock.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be that good if you're staring at the clock.
Paul Porter made it. He made it plain to me. He said, "There's no time limit on a great record."
It's not. Boy, we did that, a long time ago, and it just came out the other day.
Yeah.
Hey, that just sounds good. Yo, when it came, because I was like, let me see. I was like, oh, no, that's the song.
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But back to the point. Being in situations where you're willing to sow into people goes a long way.
Absolutely.
So even back with Allison Penny and them, like, did you charge them?
Yeah, I did.
And how did they feel about it? Were they like, because how did you get them?
Well,
Did they come to you?
what happened was they was attending a church here.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was doing videos during the church broadcast,
Mm-hmm.
and they was very instrumental in that church.
Uh-huh.
And that was when I had a 4-track.
Yeah.
They was like, "Hey, let's do a record on them."
Wow.
And I got paid $300 for that whole record.
Wow. And the church paid you?
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
In which I didn't worry about no money because I was glad to have an artist.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. That's what every producer wants, somebody to work with.
Right.
And then, hey, what's crazy though, fast forward all the way to when you went downtown the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I played on that Caribbean song
Mm-hmm.
for Allison Penny.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
First time I ever played to a loop, didn't know that. At the time, I didn't know that some people couldn't.
Right.
I just was like, oh, they turn it on and just play.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yo, and then I'm watching the moves, and I'm watching the growth, and I'm watching the caliber of clientele grow.
Mm-hmm.
Then I remember you took me and Vars
Mm-hmm.
into the Pearl Street studio when it was just a room.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, I'm gonna have some walls built. This gonna be over here, this gonna be over here, this gonna be over here. And I'm like, okay. It's like one room. One day after service, you was like, I'm gonna take y'all over here, I'm gonna show y'all something. Mm-hmm. And then the walls get built, and then it get turned even more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the place where it really turned up.
Yeah, it did. It did. And the first record that I did in that building was the Christian Angels.
Yes! And that won a Stella, right?
Won a Stella.
Yo!
Mm-hmm. It won a Stella.
And that was just like me, you, and Bruce won it.
Uh-huh.
Did anybody else play? A couple people, maybe. Maybe.
No, I think that was me, you, and Bruce. Yep. Yeah.
Yo.
So yeah,
Was that the beginning? This is interesting. Was that the beginning of the Malico run?
it was.
Yo,
Yeah, it was. And after, because and that record was picked. That record was just picked up.
another already done album.
Mm-hmm.
Bro.
Because Daryl Luster, he wasn't even at Malico yet, but he was producing for Durham, from Durham.
So
And-
he knew Rika because that's where they from?
Right. And then and I think Rika pitched. I think Rika was talking about, she did the record, and of course our main question that we asked is who produced it. So
That's what Daryl asked Rika?
Right.
Interesting.
Now, the history with me and Daryl came from Charles Johnson and the Revival.
Yes. Yes.
So he helped started that, him, his brother Ricky, and Charles Johnson.
Yeah.
So I came after Daryl when he left. So back then, Daryl knew me, but he didn't know about the studio.
Yeah.
He was hearing about the studio through the Nightingales.
Yeah.
Because of, of course, just like anything else.
Yes.
So then when it came down to Bishop F.C. Barnes cutting the record company said, well, asked him, well, is there a studio in Rocky Mount? Bishop said no, because he didn't know anything about the studio.
Wow.
So when Daryl said there is a studio there, Ray has a studio there. So that was when we was geared to record Bishop last record before he passed.
Yes.
Which was the
Old
old time
yes.
way, I think.
Yes.
And that's when we recorded that. And then in the meantime, we was recording Daryl's solo record.
Uh-huh.
And he did He Won't Change,
which was a smash.
Now that song Daryl originally wrote that song for FC, and he was trying to get Janice Brown to do that song.
Wow.
And I don't know what happened, but then it ended up being a song with just him and Bishop.
That song was crazy. And I remember that album because let me tell you what was crazy. Because at this time, of course, we all together all the time. And I remember Debbie calling me on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think this is going to be his last record. I really want you on it. Because at this time, I've been playing with them and stuff at the convocation we're building. And I'm like, yo, like history is being made on Pearl Street. It's really going down. Because that's when all the legacy artists started coming.
Right.
That's when we did the original Messengers. Right. I remember that.
And I was sick. I had just had surgery, so I couldn't play the drums.
When for the Messengers?
For the Messengers.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's because you played.
Yes.
You had to play the session because I couldn't play.
That's crazy. And I remember it. Because I think we did most of that session with drums, bass, and guitar.
Right.
And then you played keyboard after.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of those, after Bishop, seeing them, I was like, dang, man. Because then you start to think about the history of stuff. So I'm like, yo, this is wild. And they was in there telling them stories and stuff, man.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So you sit it, like, what was it like working with all these legacy artists?
Well, here again, like I said before, dealing with those artists, half of it was just being in the room.
Yeah, man.
Because you be in a room, for one, I'm blown away because these legend artists are in here. I'm recording their record. And it's like, and I've known they have recorded so many records before I was born, leading up to now.
And you know them.
Right.
You know them.
And they used to recording.
Yes.
So it's like being in the room and just like seeing how they record, what they like, what they dislike. But at the same token, I'm going down in their history books, from the Brooklyn All-Stars to the, FC Barnes to the
Yeah.
Messengers, Violinaires.
Yes.
It's like, I'm a part of their history now.
Yes, you are.
And thanks to Malico trusting me, and Daryl trusting me to come to Rocky Mount to record a record,
Yes.
little
old Rocky Mount.
Yeah, it's like, man, we was turned up in the studio because it was on and popping.
Yeah.
Like we stand in the studio until the next morning cutting a record.
Yes.
Because we know when they come, we ain't trying to spend all day with the
Yes.
artists. Let's get them in
Yes.
and out.
Yes.
And when you know what you're doing, it don't take all day.
Absolutely.
And that's just been our thing. Like, hey,
Absolutely.
we know what we come to do, so don't let it take you all day.
Facts. So it's a couple things I want to piggyback on. The legacy artist was one thing. How was it going to the studio at Malico when the first time you went? Because you were a fan of their music.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like a big fan.
Yeah. Like I always wanted to be a session musician at Malico. That happened.
Yeah.
Before the studio, the tornado hit the studio, the old studio, I was in the session with the Pilgrim Jubilees. They was cutting the Jesus Got Me Off record.
Yeah.
So I was just there. Here again, I was just glad to be in the room.
Yeah.
So my homeboy, Sam Scott, was playing. He was hired for the session.
Yeah.
He was late getting there. So everybody was there. They was like, what we waiting on? Daryl was producing the record. He said, well, we waiting on Sam Scott to get there. And Mike Atkins was like, oh, let's go in the start. We got a drummer. And Daryl said, yeah, we sure do. So he said, Ray, go on and get on the drums.
Wow.
So I ended up playing till Sam got there.
Uh-huh.
The song I played on was She's All I've Got.
Yeah.
That's on that record. And because I knew the genre of the art of the Jews.
Yes.
It felt good.
Yeah.
So, and it was like, count the song off, let's go. So we practiced over it one time. The second time we cut. We in the red.
Yeah.
So it's like I was a part of that in the old studio.
Yeah.
Where all the magic was created.
Yes.
And now when they built the new studio, I believe that if I'm not mistaken, we did the first gospel session in the new studio.
And who was that with?
That was Daryl solo. It was his second solo record.
Yeah, I got you.
And that's when I took Pooh.
Yes.
Y'all call him William Purvis.
William Purvis, yeah.
Because you couldn't go because you were still in school.
Crazy.
And I don't know if your grades was good. So,
that was always the thing.
Yeah. So it was like, I won't finna get no argument by saying, let him come,
Yes, because I think I missed the Gospel Legend session that way.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And I was like, dang.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, no, he can't go this time. And I'm like, this really sucks.
Right. So, so it was like I took Pooh because I knew I didn't want to be doing everything.
Yeah.
And either I'm gonna play bass and drums or
you don't want to in a situation like that could be
yeah. So it was like, and I know at Malico they're used to having a band.
Yes, they're from the old school.
They're from the old school.
Yes.
So it was like, if I'm gonna have a band, if I can't pull everybody from my end, I know I can't go in saying I'm playing every instrument, which I could have, but it just would have took up more time.
Yes.
So especially the way we work anyway.
Yeah.
So And matter of fact, when we did Daryl's record, then we went back down and we did Willie Rogers' record.
Yeah.
That's another legend.
Yes.
Being able to um, be a part of his legacy as well.
Yes.
And even as a young person, like, man, a lot of people, you know, for one, the younger musicians probably wouldn't even want to do a record like that because of the style of it,
Yes.
you know. Having those opportunities at Malico changed the game for me,
Yes.
and even going into from the old studio to the new studio,
Yes.
the spirit of Frank is still in there.
Yes.
It's like it's in there, and just even how they even record, man, it's just
Yes.
amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
So
So the seeing that, I've always been like super hyped inside because like you've been grinding for a long time,
yeah, yeah,
and then to have those moments, it's kind of like okay,
yeah,
it's not for nothing.
right,
Like to have those days with artists and to have the burnout, okay, it's not for nothing.
right.
So you get to the spot, you get to the place you're in now, where you moved from Pearl Street. How are things now? How are you feeling about life, production, and everything at this point?
Um, it's more of a cruise now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm more into being like the headquarters.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you don't find state of the art studios no more
Yeah.
because now it's become affordable. Most people
Yeah.
have a laptop and a computer,
Yep.
and it's like, and they
There's
have
like there's not a lot of commercial studios.
right,
It's really not a lot.
right, and it's like I still believe in how it was done back then.
Yeah.
Because I know there are people like me that don't want everybody coming to their house,
Yeah.
and just having space away from your house
Mm-hmm.
is incredible, and just having a place and you don't have to worry about the next door tenants or
Yeah.
whatever like that. So where I am now really changed the game because it's something um that has been a dream of having, your own facility
Yeah.
and everybody can be comfortable,
Yeah.
you know, not only be comfortable, you can handle business up front.
Yeah.
If you got kids, they can go in the back,
Yeah.
they can eat in the back. They ain't got,
Yes.
but at the end of the day, everybody is comfortable to the point that, that you don't have to worry about those little issues. But at the same token, I'm glad that the sound is consistent.
Yes. And are you at the place now in your career where you're still like pouring into artists and like building artists up?
Oh yeah, that's over. I say that it's 90% of that and 10% of recording
Yes.
because you know I want artists to know, and if it's any way that I can help build them, because it's known that once they leave the studio, they're gonna have a great record.
Yes. That's yes.
So, but I don't want it to just be a great record and have a great artist. I want them to be great when they leave. You know, it's good when you come in the studio, but I want you to be great when you leave because, and I want to be able to tell the person the things that the average person won't tell them. So it's easier. The choice is yours. You can go down this way or that way, but I'm gonna tell you the way I went down, so you can decide whichever way you want to go. But you don't have to go down that way not knowing. You know,
Mm.
I can tell you by experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know that if you do it this way, this what's gonna happen. If you don't do it this way, it ain't no telling what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So it's like I want to be able to help the artist in a way that the average won't tell them.
Yes.
And that's why I'm glad that I've been on the road, still on the road. I've been in all the different shoes,
Yes.
so I can speak from experience
Yes.
versus speaking from Thoughtville. Like I think, you know, like I like to know,
Yeah.
and I can tell a
Especially when
person.
you advising somebody, you can't
Right.
give people like you said a while ago. If you ain't never been there, you can't tell nobody how to get there because
Exactly.
you have no idea.
Exactly. And I tell the lead singers that are up and coming, stop acting like you've been there too. Stop talking to your group like you know it all.
Okay, that's happening a lot,
Oh yeah.
and I be seeing it. It's like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you and and here's the thing. You said it a minute ago, so I think we should talk about it. Talent is not experience.
No.
Just because you know how to sing
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you know the business. Like we can't trust you to run the business based on how good you sing.
Sing. Right. Right. And I don't understand. I don't know who came up with that. I don't understand. Like, because I've seen lead singers that can't manage money, but you managing the group. No, if your bass player isn't accounting on his job, let him handle the money.
It don't matter how good you sing.
No,
Let the man who do it for a living handle the
handle
money.
the money. How you? We understand it's your baby. This is your group, but you probably only good for one thing, and that's singing.
That's a fact. And I be seeing that like, and the group be going down in flames
Yes,
because of the ego attached to the leader.
to the leader. I'm telling you, I see it all the time. Like, and when I dissect the group, because I love when the groups bring when the artists like their group members there.
Yeah.
So for one, it's fellowshipping, but then I like to know what they working with.
Yeah.
Because here again, your drummer he the drummer, but he may be the one that need the book for the group. Cause he's about order.
Yes.
And the lead singer, you can sing, and this may be a group that you started, but you don't need to be trying to manage the group too. You can't do everything.
Just show up and sing.
Just show up and sing. Make sure you lead us in the right direction on the stage.
Right.
Make sure you saying something.
Yeah.
Cause you don't have all the answers.
Right.
And it's kind of like I have to tell it all the time. Like, man, let that bass player handle the business.
Yeah. So you've had group. This is good. We're gonna keep going. So you've had groups in the studio that you're producing. You have conversations with them and find out you need to talk to them about how they handling business.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you should probably let that person do this.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't let John Doe over there handle that money, y'all gonna stay broke.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, even with you producing an album, a good album ain't gonna mean nothing if they get out there and just
Yeah. How you gonna get home? How you gonna get home when just because he the lead singer, he getting deposits sent to him, and when it's time to do a show, y'all can't go nowhere because he don't spent the deposit. Like
yes.
I mean, they say don't let the man hold the money that ain't never got none.
That's good.
Don't
let the man hold the money that ain't never got.
y'all gonna always be broke.
Yo, that's real.
So like, I look at people in that group and I find their strengths. Where you strong at? Or what kind of work you do? Well, I work in AP at my job. Or I'm in I'm in human resources at my at my job. Okay, that's what you do. So, oh, I'm a supervisor on my job. Okay, so you're good at supervisor, so you keep people in line.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I mean, it's not rocket scientist. Like you like
Yeah. And that's another thing that I be seeing in groups is like the lack of value in people's strengths.
right,
Like you would be better off to use people's strengths
right,
and value everybody
right,
because you ain't up there by yourself.
right. Because in some people they looking at stuff. They want a group, but they want to maneuver as an eye. Like that's not cool. If you if you gonna be a team, be a team.
If you're gonna be a solo artist, be a solo
Be a
artist.
solo artist. You know, but there are a lot of artists that want a group but want to maneuver as a solo artist.
Sheesh.
Nah, I respect the fact if you want to be a solo artist,
But say that.
say that.
Don't have group members out here treating them crazy.
Right. Because with me, and we talk about it with the legends all the time, there are two types of people. There are one that wants to be a group member, then there's another one that wants to be a part of a group. We talk about it all the time.
Whoa, now that's heavy.
Alan always telling us, and it's true when we talk about it, because one that's part of a group, they just always saying where mine at.
Yeah, but when you a member, you share wins and losses.
Absolutely. So it's like, hey, we gonna come together and see what's going, you say how we can work through this. And we say it all the time. We're not, you're crazy to do a show just to pay musicians. So I'm singing to pay you, and you don't really care about what I'm doing. So you want your $125?
That's real life.
Nah, I'm not finna do that.
Right.
And then half for some musicians that come in, they want that $125, but they ain't coming in to find out what can they do to add to it. They come in and see what they can change. That's one thing I say about Doc. Doc can get whoever to play for him.
But it's gonna be Doc.
Absolutely, you're gonna play because he wants to be consistent.
Yeah.
And when you're a musician, I tell musicians, stop thinking about how much you can play. It ain't about how much you can play. You get gigs according to knowing what to play and when to play it.
For that artist.
Not how much you can play, in a song or this and that, So, I want to be that musician that, I'm a chameleon.
Yes. I'm whatever you need me to be.
Oh, I'm a fit in any environment.
Yes.
Let me be that kind of musician.
Yes, absolutely.
Because those kind of musicians always keep some gigs.
That's facts.
Or jobs.
That's right.
So, and everybody can't do that.
Yeah.
So, but it's crazy, how artists do that and think like that.
Yeah.
But I try to take every moment to try to change that narrative.
And that's the thing about you. Like, you've been in it for a very long time, and you're one of the people who are using your influence to make it better. Because there's some people who just in it to get what they can get out of it. And some people who just trash it.
Right.
And then there's other people who say, this is a part of who I am, and I want to see the genre do better.
Right.
So when you get people in, you don't just want to produce a record.
No, I'm gonna talk to you. Yeah. Because it's one thing God put in me. It's like I would always wonder, like if John Doe starts a studio, this and that and the third. It's like, because some people will say, well, I ain't giving my secrets away or whatever. And God just told me plain as day. He said, "Don't worry about it." He
Yes.
said, "Because I give you the knowledge that you need to know,
Yes.
but let it turn into wisdom by telling somebody else."
Absolutely.
So if a person wants to know this about that, I'm not gonna be selfish and not say nothing. I'm gonna tell them because
Mm.
that's when it turns to wisdom.
Yes.
Because God gave it to me.
Yes.
Man didn't give it to him, and He gave us all. It's enough for all of us to find a place.
Yes. I literally do everything that I do the way that I do it from watching you, and it don't sound like nothing you do.
Wow.
But it's the exact same systems. I do everything exactly the way I've seen you do it to this day.
Wow.
And I think that's a thing that people have to be okay with. Like we're a community.
We're community. Yeah, because if I have a body of work to do, I'm gonna tell you, Jamal, what you doing? No, man, what you need? I need you to come over here and play these drums.
Right.
Or I need you to come and do this song.
Yes.
And that's just being honest with.
Yes.
And when you're not what's the word I want to use? When you're okay with who you are,
Yes.
that don't bother you.
Yes.
Because you're not being selfish and saying, I'm gonna do this because so that I can say that it's me. That's why people hogging stuff.
Yeah.
Because they want the attention to be on them.
Yes.
No, let me it's somebody else's turn.
You have done that for a lot. You have put a lot of people on. Like I said, like y'all play or you sequence this or you do this. Like that one time with the Airwood sisters. You just sent me the files. You're like, do this real quick. All right. And then I sent the files back to you and then came up. And it's like, I've seen you do that.
Yeah.
And like you've created opportunities for a lot of people. Which brings me to the next thing that I want to talk about. Two things that I want to talk about. Ray Braswell Jr. Day. That's the first thing. How did it feel for them to give you a day in the city?
Well, I'm still trying to feel it now. Like I'm still trying to get over the fact that I actually have a day.
Yes.
Because one thing that's very rare is somebody like appreciating you.
Let alone the city.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and much, shout out to my home church because they played a very important part in that.
Yeah.
But and even that day when they did that, like I was so amazed with my classmates being there, because they remember. I'm one of those guys that I'm copying off their papers and stuff like that. And then to know that they're being blessed by my music.
Yes, man.
Because sometimes, man, you'll be in certain situations that, you want to try to be cool in front of whoever. So if it's something planned, you probably turn it down because you don't want nobody to hear it or think this and that and the third. But it's kind of like, man, knowing that people have been blessed by the music that I've created, it's like a great feeling. So, just the fact of them coming and giving me a day is incredible because like they could have given it to anybody else.
Facts.
And hear me, a dude that does gospel music, and do what I do is kind of like, man, I appreciate even a thought. And I haven't been able to have a official party on the day because of you had COVID and stuff or whatever.
Yes.
So, but I'm working on it.
Yes.
But I'm still trying to really understand that I do have a day.
That's wild.
In Rocky Mount.
Yes.
I mean, it's so many great people here.
Yes.
That have made a mark in the city.
Yes.
Luther Barnes, Bishop F.C. Barnes, and I mean,
all the way back to Thelonious Monk.
Yeah. you know,
It's crazy.
and it's so many other, professional people, whether it's actors or whatever, that come from
Yes.
here,
Yes.
that and just to be able to say February the 8th is Ray Braswell Jr. Day, that's, I'm still trying to get over that, man. You
Yeah.
know. And maybe I just need to get a parade or something. I
You
don't
got to
know.
do something. Which is what my next thing was I wanted to close with. And that's Remarkable too. How's that coming?
Man, I'm mixing. I'm in the mixing stage.
Let's go.
I'm in the mixing stage.
Okay.
I don't know how much of it you want me to say.
It's up to you.
Um,
The biggest thing because when was Remarkable Project 1 put out? What year?
that was put out in 2005, I believe.
And a lot has transpired since then.
A lot.
And the biggest thing that I want to hear from you about is how you feel now, more than the project itself. Like you mixing now, you know how far you've come from everything that you told us about, from walking to school all the way to now.
Mm-hmm.
And to be mixing that project with A Day in the City, how does it feel?
You know what? It feels great, especially with well, let me back up. Volume 1 was a record giving groups a chance.
The same thing we talked about before.
Right. I wanted to be a blessing to groups that had the talent, had the heart, but didn't have the capital to do it.
Yes.
And it wasn't about me, but it was about how could I have an outlet for groups trying to make it.
Yes.
That just don't want to sing around here.
Yes.
And and through that record, a couple of groups have signed major record deals.
Absolutely.
And the record was it's I mean, I just had somebody the other day was talking about a song off of it.
Yeah.
And a guy came to me in Baltimore. He said, "Man, I just want to say, man, I appreciate you because one of the songs on your record, man, really inspired me." And I was like, "For real, man?" He was like, "Yes, man." And with that, I like really felt good because it's like, man, sometimes you don't even realize how stuff is a blessing, become a blessing to folks.
Yes.
So with volume 2, volume 2 is also a blessing because the people that's involved on it are people that some people know, but these are people that I've been able to work with.
Yeah.
That it's like man, they was like asking me what I need to do to be on the record.
Yeah.
And I ain't even mean for it to be that way. Like I'm just doing something.
Yeah.
So for them to call me and say, "Hey, can I be on the record?"
Yeah.
Even now it's like they still saying, "Hey, save a slot for me." And I'm like, man,
so you just got to get ready for 3 then.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's incredible because I'm like, God, I can't put 13 or more songs on this record.
Yeah.
But it's I thank God for people wanting to be a part of it.
Yeah.
More so because they see, they believe in me.
Yes.
And want to be a part of it, not even knowing the full details, but automatically saying, "What can I do to be in it?"
Yes.
And so it's incredible. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the artist that's up there.
Mm-hmm.
I won't reveal it because I want to be a surprise.
That's right. Smart man.
Because some of these artists, people haven't heard music from them in a long time.
Yeah.
So just hearing fresh new music from
certain artists,
yes. It's gonna be incredible.
So y'all look out for that Remarkable Project 2.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when it's coming out?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't, because it's so many records that's dropping.
Yes.
And I know that, when God say it's coming out, it's gonna be the right time.
Absolutely.
No matter who's coming out,
Absolutely.
it's gonna it's gonna come out. So I'm excited, man.
That's good stuff, man. I'm proud of you. Like to meet you when I did and to see what I saw and then to hear the beginning is crazy to me. So I just want to say I'm proud. As a son, I'm proud.
Man, I'm proud of you too. And the next time I come, I'm gonna take over your show and we're gonna talk about Maul.
Hi, we can do
We
that.
we gonna flip the script.
Hey, we can do that for real.
Yeah, cause you definitely have been true to it, and you definitely have made your mark and been consistent with
Yeah.
what you do. And just from seeing um
Yeah.
seeing you from a baby, and when I get home from off the road, my keyboard has been moved, or and you kind of do like I used to do when I was in high school. My dad had a pickup truck, and he used to leave the key on top of the fireplace. So when he would go to work, I would take the truck and I would drive to school, and and when I would get out of school, I would get back before he got off work.
And try to park it.
I would park it in the same place and put the key in the same place. So he never knew that I did that until we got older. And I said, yeah, well, you can't whoop me now. So, you know, so you used to do just like me when I would come home from work. You would grab the keyboard, and when you knew I had to leave, you would put it right back in the case,
Yeah.
like ain't nothing happened.
That's
Doing
true.
tracks. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but we gonna talk. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that's a
run
good
the show
idea.
one day.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great idea. We're gonna do that, yo.
Yeah, I'm gonna bomb the show.
Yo, that's fire. So before we go, there's so many different areas of music that have been affected by your contribution. So to the music community as a whole, if there was one piece of advice or encouragement that you would give, what would it be?
Um, One would be stay true to who you are, and one thing that, and I'm not trying to be negative at all, but I know there are a lot of musicians that come from quartet,
Yes, sir.
and because they have excelled in many different directions, some of them will say, I don't do quartet no more.
Oh, yeah.
And it bothers me because to say that quartet is the reason why you even where you are.
Yes.
So how can you say I don't I don't do quartet no more when this was the vehicle to where you are now?
Yes.
And just because it's not the money maker for you,
Yes.
I never forget where I came from.
That's good.
And I always show respect to the genre of quartet.
Yes.
Because when there wasn't praise and worship, when there wasn't CCM, when there wasn't all of that other stuff, one thing you can count on that was there, and that was quartet music.
That's true.
And you have the new people are saying gospel music, traditional music.
Yeah, that's what they call it now, traditional gospel, right? Or something
Yeah,
like that.
but I'm gonna keep it real. It's quartet,
It is.
and I always speak highly of quartet because even in churches, when you get into a dog fight or a jam, as we would call it, you know, the praise and worship leader can say, "Let me take you to church. You taking me to church? We in church. You ain't taking me nowhere. Just say, let me do some quartet because that's exactly what you're doing.
That's exactly what
You know,
facts.
and hey, everything has an art.
That's
And
right.
if you don't know the art of quartet, don't hate on it. Because one thing that quartet will teach you, it will teach any musician how to be disciplined.
Facts on facts on facts. Yeah.
Because I ain't never seen a groove that changes and call it a groove. A
Facts.
groove is something that's the same.
Yes.
And genre of quartet is a feel.
Yes.
it's a feel. If you ain't got, in order to do quartet, you got to have the feel.
Yes.
And one thing about it, quartet will never die.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm gonna stay true to it.
Absolutely.
It's not that we can't do anything else.
Yeah.
Because we can.
Yeah.
And but when we hit that quartet, we're gonna know what time it is.
Every time.
If you listen to us for about 5 minutes, I believe you're gonna feel something. And then when we feel like you tired of hearing it, we'll go and tap into your CCM and your other stuff and stuff, because we can do that.
Absolutely.
But just stay true to who you are.
Yeah.
And be consistent.
Yeah.
That's my words.
Yeah. Thank y'all for watching. Ray Braswell Jr., Mr. Ray Markable. Peace.